But re-examine it with people.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Hope you had a nice Christmas, nice holiday season.
Senators.
Frank is on vacation today, so and actually this week, so I'll be with you guys this week. And joined by producer Nick Roddy, who will be with us. Nicholas, good morning to you.
Morning, Chris.
How are you?
Great.
Very good. I gotta say, I think it's very exciting that you get to be with us today. So thank you.
I'm excited to be here.
Good. We have a lot to talk about. And you're a little new to this side of things. So what we're going to do is we have, and it's part of your job, and I never told you this until right now.
Lovely.
With the vice president.
I like to have like unique content just for our StreamYard guests, like during the break. So like one thing I'm going to bring up is my wife and I have been talking about if we get real Christmas trees, right? We've gotten real Christmas trees forever. But I'm wondering, people are still buying real Christmas trees because I've got this problem, and we'll get to it later on. But my wife and I are considering going to a fake tree for Christmas. So I'll tell you why a little later on. But it is under consideration. So we have content like that I want you to be mindful of. If you see anything to bring to the table,
I can't believe that. I can't believe you just said what you just said.
You think that's like blasphemous or something?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, look, I've had a real tree my whole life.
It is said to be
but I've had it with this one aspect of it, and so we'll get to it. But anyway, so that's there for you too. So we'll get to that. Anyway, it's good to be back. It feels like we haven't been on for quite some time, so it's good to be back, and we'll get this thing rolling. Scott, good morning to you. Happy New Year to you. Hope you had a nice holiday. I'm glad you're able to join us on the StreamYard today. No fake trees. All right. Look. We'll get to it. I'm interested to see if I can sway somebody's opinion, or if somebody's going to sell me even further on the fake tree. We'll get to it because yesterday we took our tree out to the curb, and I'm just done with this certain aspect, but we'll talk about it. All right. As always, 800-859-0957 is the phone number. And we're going to get to a lot of your calls today. We haven't been able to talk to you in quite some time, so we'll make sure we carve out a lot of time for you and your calls. But we got a lot to talk about, so we'll get to it all here this morning on the Frank Beckmann Show.
For no
charge. Here. I'm just trying to get my ducks in a row here.
I'm Dr.
We got about 30 seconds, Chris.
We've known for years that children do better at.
I'm going to take my mouse off of there. There we go. And now you've got, well, boy, there's just, all right, we'll get to it all. We got a lot to do.
Connected at home. To connect your child with an opportunity like this, call 1-888-4-WCS-KIDS or visit online at WCSKids.net.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
Oh, good morning. It's good to be back with you. We missed you. I don't know what we're going to talk about today. Oh, my goodness. There's a lot to do. And I'm not really sure where exactly we should start, but I think that it's best because we've got this new coronavirus strain, right? That's popped up around the country. Started overseas in the UK. Everybody was freaking out about it over there. And lo and behold, of course, we're a very connected world, as we know, more than ever. We've seen it now specifically for COVID-19. But everybody was very worried about this new strain. So we'll talk about that. We'll get one of our experts because I think there's a lot of questions that people need answers to. So we'll talk about that too. Also, you've got a circuit court judge in Ingham County making the call to literally shut down, strip this business of their license up in the UP north of Houghton. I mean, you're talking about in the tip of the UP, almost as north as you can go. And you've got a judge in Ingham County making a decision about a business up in Calumet, a restaurant that has remained open, and now they're being ordered to shut down, but we'll see from the owner whether or not they're actually going to do it. So we'll talk about that too. But look, I think it would be, I think it only best serves all of us to talk about what's going on down in Georgia. And this mess that the president's got himself in. And look, I'm not really interested in taking a position in right or wrong. He's the president. He's going to do whatever he wants. Okay. Would I have done what he did? Probably not. Okay. According to this audio. But I'm going to gauge where you're at on that too. 800-859-0957. That's the number for you to call or text. By the way, we're on StreamYard as well, so you can check us out on Facebook and on YouTube. But the real fact of the matter is, and this is my question to you, is this audio that I'm sure you've heard, but if you haven't, we're going to play it because we've got it. This audio from this recorded conversation with the president and the Georgia Secretary of State, the Republican, Brad Raffensperger, do you think that this impacts the runoffs tomorrow in Georgia, the election? How do you think it impacts this? Because I got to be honest, this is priority number one. Priority number one, okay? It doesn't appear that the president will be in office for another term, okay? So with that said, priority number one should be dealing with the Georgia runoffs. They should be dealing with the Senate runoff elections in Georgia. It is of the utmost importance to at least maintain one of those seats. But look, here's what the president said yesterday. All right. And we've got a whole plethora of cuts. We'll play them throughout the show. That there's nothing wrong with saying that we'll just recalculate the thing. I need a little over 11,000 votes. Just fudge the numbers a little bit for me. Look, you can hear for yourself. Jason, cut one, please.
We have won this election in Georgia based on all of this. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, Brad. You know, I mean, having a correct, the people of Georgia are angry. And these numbers are going to be repeated on Monday night, along with others that we're going to have by that time, which are much more substantial even. And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
The data that you have is wrong. That's from the Secretary of State, the Republican down in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger. Right? So these are the things that muddy the waters for this upcoming election tomorrow. This is where we find ourselves at. The president is into some murky waters here. Okay? And he's asking of the Secretary of State in Georgia to then, quote unquote, find nearly 12,000 votes. And look, I'll let him say it. Jason, cut 3, please. I'm sorry.
You want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have, not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes.
All right, I'll tell you what, give me cut 4 as well, because this is where the president starts talking about finding the votes in order to win the state of Georgia. Cut 4, please.
You know what they did, and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense. And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk. But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, and they are removing machinery, and they're moving it as fast as they can, both of which are criminal fines, and you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen. So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
I mean, you let me know. I want you to tell me what you think of that. 800-859-0957. It's there for you. You can call or text. We'll get your text too. But look, from a Republican perspective, it worries me that this could potentially impact what happens in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, with these 2 runoff elections. The Republicans need to hold 1 seat. If you're worried, if you're driving in your car and you are sick to your stomach about what's going to happen over the next 4 years, or at least 2 until the midterms roll around, if you're really worried about it, if you're really worried about what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to do, you need to focus on the prize, and that is these 2 Senate seats in Georgia, or at least 1. That is where the focus needs to be. And my question to you is, 1, you tell me what you think of the president's comments, but 2, does this impact the race in Georgia? The race is in Georgia tomorrow. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR, the number for you to call or text. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube as well, so you can check out the show there. All right, off to the roadways we go. We'll check things out there with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Mostly cloudy skies today. Temperatures remaining rather steady in the low to mid 30s. Cloudy tonight, a few flurries, even a light snow shower or 2 possible. Temperatures tonight into the upper 20s. Cloudy tomorrow, mid 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ken Boone on News Talk 760 WJR.
Paid for by Lose Debts. Attention, this is a very important.
All right, let's see here. I want to say good morning to you guys. Mark, good morning. Good morning, Chris and crew. Happy New Year. Great seeing and hearing you. Looking forward to an awesome show. Thank you, Mark. It's good to hear and see from you. Hope you had a good one. Gee, will there be a new virus next year? Well, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, 2021 rolls around and we got this crazy new strain. We'll talk about it. Look, it doesn't seem like it's as big of a deal as maybe some places have reported. Based on what I have seen, it's far too early to speculate. But we'll talk to a professional. We'll talk to an expert and we'll get the answer for you. Jerry, good morning, Chris. Great to have you back. Good to be back, Jerry. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Only until Biden gets in, which I hope not, it's another political move. Like, I agree. I completely agree. I think Paul kind of touched on it a little bit in our crosstalk, but it's where did this audio come from? I mean, this is it's pretty clear audio. Obviously the device in which they were recording was pretty good. I don't know if it was a Zoom call or if it was, obviously some sort of conference call that they just recorded, but it's very clear audio. So yeah, it's another political move. It's a good point. Give me 3 steps, mister, and you can keep the Civil War. Just saying. Jerry, to me, the real question is, how did this recording get out? It's a great question. It's a great question. And I think that is a main question. Nick and Chris, on another note, great job on the Lions production. Sorry they got moved. Stay strong. Oh, it's very nice, Mark. We appreciate that. Thank you. We'll be okay. We'll be just fine. But look, the Lions got some work ahead of them. They're going to need to find a combination of a really good general manager that can find talent,
millions of people
and a good coach that can coach them up. And so far, they reflect that a little bit, and we'll see what the order coming out is. But yeah, I'm excited. I think that there's at least some hope moving forward. I would
think. A new head coach opening in the National Football League. Jacksonville Jaguars have parted ways with Doug Marrone.
Yeah, that was expected, and now the speculation is that one Urban Meyer likes that coaching job down in Jacksonville.
We should get into that. All right, we're coming back.
Need your help.
To military families. Help now at helpymca.org.
The Frank Beckman Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckman, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR. That's the number for you to call or text. Look, my question is simple to you. What do you think of this audio? Number one. And number two, do you think this is going to hurt the GOP's chances down in Georgia for the Senate runoffs? I don't see how it helps, I'll tell you that. But I'm interested to know what you think. 800-859-0957. Let's start in Shelby Township. Talk to Greg. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, C-Note, Mr. Positive. Hey, Happy New Year to you and all my warriors out there in Radio Land.
All right.
What we have here, my friend, is the rantings, even though I voted for him and I wanted him to win, is of a sore loser. I don't think you can interpret any way, shape, or form predicated upon that conversation, if you use legalese, that he said anything of criminal intent. Now, I guess you can interpret it on the what aisle you fall on. If you don't like Trump, you're going to find a nuance there to say he's saying something to actually change the votes. But I'm not hearing that. I'm just hearing finding the votes. And the interpretation of finding the votes, people are construing it, if you're against Trump, saying that he wants you to change the votes. If you listen to it, the video or the audio, you don't hear him of anything of breaking the law. You hear the rantings of a sore loser, but I don't hear it myself unless someone can tell me what I'm missing. I just hear the rantings of a sore loser, and he just can't accept defeat. And he's saying, find the, if you take it in a court of law, you're going to go, well, he's actually not saying change it. Maybe we haven't counted all the votes, and maybe there's another 12,000 votes that are missing. What say you, C-Note?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, look, I'm very interested to see how this impacts tomorrow, and how this impacts the election of these 2 Senate seats in the runoffs in Georgia, because again, I don't know that it helps. It's kind of a bad look, right? I mean, I think strong supporters of the president will say, look, he's going to the mat. This is what he thinks. And so he's not laying down, and they'll like it. On the other hand, a lot of other people, especially on the other side of the aisle, are going to, they're going to say that this dude should be impeached again for this. So I'm not, look, what I have gone out spoken with a Secretary of State at the state level and said something like this? No, I wouldn't have, but I don't know. It doesn't, I'll tell you what, it doesn't look good. All right. And if it doesn't look good now, the president is backing, Kelly Loeffler in Purdue. So how does this impact tomorrow? Priority number one at this stage should be protecting at least one of those seats. At least one. It's a must. So I don't know how this thing shakes out, and that's what I need your help with. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Chesterfield, talk to John. Good morning, John.
Good morning. I really don't care what the president does. I'm glad he's doing what he's doing, because there was a seat in Iowa that the Republican won by 6 votes. Now, Nancy Pelosi had to seat this person yesterday, and after this person's seated, she's going to contest the election by 6 votes after there was a recount. So the president is doing all the right things. This needs exposed. What happened here with this 2020 presidential election was fraud, and everybody knows it. That's all I got.
Yeah, and John, that's a good point. So how do you think this impacts tomorrow down in Georgia?
Well, people got to wake up and then see what's going on with the Democrats. What they've done, they rigged the elections, and they knew what they were doing from the start of COVID to here we are now. 10 months they had time to plan the rig, and it's been going on, and we know it now. And I said 6 votes in Iowa, and Nancy Pelosi wants to investigate that. Let's investigate the 11,000 votes, whatever Trump needs from Georgia. Let's do it. You need an investigation because voter fraud happened, and we all know it. And they won't say nothing about it.
All right, John, thank you. I appreciate the call. I mean, look, Brad Raffensperger down in Georgia says they did the recount, and everything is fine in Georgia, apparently. That's what he's saying. He's a Republican. I don't know. That's what he's saying. So, I mean, look, the president has gone on and said, and asked specifically here. I'll tell you what. I'll play the cut. Jason, give me our cut number 2 here, because this is where the president is saying and asking what specifically happened in Georgia, where there are a couple instances including ballots and involving the Dominion machines. Have there been any funny business there? Cut 2.
Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that? Because that's illegal.
This is Ryan, Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
Well, but have they moved? Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure.
I'm sure. So look, that's the counsel of Brad Raffensperger. That's Ryan, Germany. So look, these are the conversations that are going on. And again, does it look bad? Maybe, but I'm more interested in how this impacts the runoffs. Let's go to Kathy in Milford. Good morning, Kathy.
How are you doing?
Hey, how are you? Good morning. Happy New Year.
You too. The president is absolutely right, because for the past, since early Chicago, we have seen corruption. All he is saying is, look, and in that last part when you were playing again in your thought on that, is he trying to change stuff? All he's saying is, look, we know the votes are there. He knows stuff we do not know. And when he was questioning him about the machine, we literally saw on many programs where we saw a woman take out part of a machine and slip it to a man. I mean, we have actually seen what is going on, and he is saying no more. This is the president that has tried to stop this corruption that is going on. They know. I mean, even Arizona, all the other states. So you're trying to say, I'll give you an example. A man beats his wife. He says, I'm sorry, I'm going to change. This will never happen again till the next time. Well, we've had so many next times. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? He is trying to say the votes are there. And as American people, we're tired of the corruption. Does that make sense? We're tired of the corruption. And tomorrow's vote is not affecting us. It's affecting Georgia and the United States.
Yeah, I got you, Kathy. And look, here's my, I mean, look, this is, it's even further than that, right? Because the everything has been certified. Now we just wait for the 6th for Congress to act on it. And we'll get to that in a little bit and what all that means. In terms of these.
Are you thinking because it's certified by corrupt people, then that's okay? That even though they've got evidence and evidence.
But Kathy, that's our system. That is what it is. Look, I appreciate the call. I'm up against it, but yeah, that is our system. So whether or not they're corrupt or not, that's our system. And whether or not we need to look at it is another question. But unfortunately, now you've got this January 6th deadline where Congress is going to vote on it, and they're going to, it sounds like, challenge these electoral votes, which is fine. They have the ability to do that under the Constitution, and they will. And they're going to form this 10-day exploratory emergency audit committee, and they're going to look at it. But you've got the Republican leadership at the Secretary of State level down in Georgia saying that everything is on the up and up. They even flat out told the president that his information was wrong. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. That's the number for you to call or text. All right, off to the roadways we go. Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Wilson Marine. You may have heard the boat show was canceled. It's been moved to Wilson Marine. Come see Michigan's largest inventory at the boat show. Go to 2021boatshow.com. That's 2021boatshow.com. The boat show has been moved to all 5 Wilson Marine locations. See 2021boatshow.com.
From the Weather Channel. Cold and cloudy all day today, hitting 34. Tonight, cloudy, a few flurries or snow showers possible. Your low 28. Tuesday, cloudy skies, a few flurries or snow showers as well, and a high of 36. Cloudy, holding at 31 degrees. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News, with Marie Osborne in 1 minute.
Whether it's 15 terrifying miles to the first date or 92 miles to meeting your first.
All right, let's see here.
Max. Whether it's 300 eager backseat miles to funnel cakes and Ferris wheels or just heading to work. Marathon has the fuel to keep your engine running at peak performance because you never know where life is going to take you. For quality fuel through every mile, fill up at Marathon.
One of the things I've missed the most this year is traveling. But we're coming up on a new year, and our friends at Go Great Lakes Bay are asking you to make planning a trip your 2021 New Year's resolution. A quiet, peaceful reconnection with nature, new and exciting water adventures, or exploring the endless number of small-town shops in Michigan's Great Lakes Bay region. For help planning your next trip, visit gogreat.com. Travel safely, friends, and Happy New Year from the Great Lakes Bay region of pure Michigan.
With just one day before the Senate runoff election.
All right, let's see here.
The Washington Post has released audio of a recent call between President Trump and Georgia's Secretary of State.
Bill, good morning.
Rachel Sutherland.
Nice to see you, Chris. Nice to meet Nick. Yes, world, meet Nick Roddy.
Nice to meet you, Bill.
Yes. So, yes, Ronald, we saw that. Boy,
a member of the State Board of Elections.
the amen and then a woman in the congressional speech.
Secretary of State
You know, boy, I believe "amen" means something in Latin.
Mentioned
is what I
Detroit,
saw.
Michigan voting. He told
Like "let it be" or something like
Secretary of
that.
State,
Why'd I have to
"You're
look
not
up
the only one."
exactly what it is? But it's not a. Well,
to us very
you
shortly.
know, Nancy Pelosi passed this rule in the chamber
I think in Detroit
to eliminate gender,
your state actually.
you know, whatever gender
So we're not
titles.
report it
You know,
yet.
congresswoman, congressmen are gone. Can't say it.
130% of the people who voted. That's not good. This is again.
And now you've got this
by the Washington Post. Michigan high school students returning
representative now
today after having to
saying
stop
"amen" and then following up with "a woman."
due to a spike in COVID cases in the state. Students across the state are also returning to classes after winter break holidays. Governor Whitmer's administration.
Oh, so it be, it means in Latin. So it be.
And
Or so, what is it? So
restaurants are still closed
So
for
it-
in-person dining until January 15th.
so be it. Sorry. So be it. So be it. That's what "amen" means. It's not gender specific,
That was for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
but that's where we're at. So
Larry King,
we'll talk about that coming up as well.
19. This is according to several.
What else do I have for you today? Oh, you know those nasty, mean police officers.
Center in Los Angeles.
I've got a story here from one of those nasty, mean police officers.
What happened?
Who did something just so vile, so nasty and mean, and you know, actually, they did break protocol. So we'll talk about that too coming up. And Bill, I mean, I don't. I would agree. Unless the president leaked it himself, which I don't know why he would do that. I would imagine the Secretary of State office of Georgia, somebody leaked it.
That's a great statement.
Where?
Keep it coming.
I don't know where else it would come from.
The NFL season all wrapped up. The Jets were the first to drop.
Maria, good morning to you. Happy New Year.
Napolitano.
Good to see you.
There's more firings expected today. New York Jets.
Well, he's got that monitor up really loud.
Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Doug
Yeah, can you hear it?
Yo, yes.
We've had some technical problems, so.
Oh, good. Okay, good. That's great. Very nice. Anyway, so Nick, I believe with how these games shook out last night, the Lions now will be picking at number 7.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
7th pick. Yep.
Seventh pick. What'd you make of those? A couple of those calls yesterday on.
Marie Osborne.
Well, one was on Tracy Walker on the roughing the passer play, and then the Marvin Jones.
I don't understand the Marvin Jones one at all. The ball never hit the ground.
Right.
The Tracy Walker might have been the worst call in football history.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah,
what's he supposed to do? It's tackle football.
Right. Unless you're going to change the rules and make it 2-hand touch, but until then, yeah. We're working on it. It's a little.
We'll work on that for next segment.
Yeah. Anyway, supposedly it's a 1 hour or so phone call and 4 minutes was leaked. Well, I believe somebody on Sidney Powell's staff leaked, or they released the whole phone call. So that is out there for you. I just took the pieces that I thought were, at least most worthy for you guys to hear. And this was the audio that was obtained by the Washington Post. So,
all right, we're coming back soon.
Okay.
As long as we keep watching our distance, wearing our masks, and washing our hands.
Learn more about vaccines at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
So Governor Gretchen Whitmer's staff and the leader of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Robert Gordon, has issued several epidemic orders, not pandemic orders, epidemic orders that have resulted in the closure of in-person dining for restaurants in the state. And it's been like that since mid-November, and has continued through the month of November and now through the month of December and now into January. And as we stand now, I guess the latest or most near date that we can resume in-person dining is January 15th. But the governor has said that it's possible that those orders are able to come off the books and, restaurants are going to be able to open back up. But restaurants have been increasingly frustrated. And we've seen studies done by like the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association that said 33%, a third of Michigan's restaurants are just not going to make it the next few months. Not going to make it. They don't have the juice to go the distance here and try to and get on the other side of this. And while many restaurants have closed down, there is one in particular that has decided to stay open, and it's in Calumet, which, if you don't know where Calumet is, it's like north of Houghton, kind of on that northern tip of the UP going up north, pointing to Canada, right? So the Cafe Rosetta has maintained in-person dining. They've continued to just stay open. And now the Cafe Rosetta and its owner, Amy Heikkinen, they are now the first restaurant in Michigan to be ordered to close after a circuit court judge in Ingham County, which is where Lansing is, Ingham County, issued a shutdown order because they've maintained in-person dining. Amy Heikkinen now joins us this morning here on the Frank Beckmann Show, owner of Cafe Rosetta. Amy, good morning to you.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got it. I'm so interested to get your side of the story here and what's gone on. Now, look, you are well aware that restaurants technically at this juncture aren't allowed to have in-person dining, but you've maintained your openness and you've been continuing to serve your customers. I guess talk to me about what this has been like for you, and maybe what are you hearing amongst the people that are coming in to eat?
So it's been very positive. We've had people coming in from not just our town, but the whole UP, even from downstate, from Wisconsin. People have reached out by mail and have donated to our legal fund on GoSendMe, or GiveSendGo and GoFundMe to fight this battle. People are really stepping up, showing their support and standing behind us, thanking us for doing what we're doing.
Now, Ingham County Circuit Court Judge Wanda Stokes issued a temporary restraining order, would have been late last week, which requires the restaurant to close its doors because now you don't have a technically a valid food service license. What's your plan going forward here?
So we do have the physical license. It's up on the wall, posted like it always has been. Recently, we were mailed our new tax license. That's up on the wall too, as required by law. This isn't law, and that's been the frustration this whole time. Is we need due process. We want to go to court to fight this. You're talking about orders, executive orders. For a pandemic or for an outbreak, which we haven't had. None of our employees have ever tested positive, nor any customers or contact tracing linking us to any outbreak or any cases in the community or anywhere. So it really just doesn't make sense what they're asking us to do. I realize that some restaurants are following the rules, and good for them. It's an individual choice. It's an individual business and personal decision to do so, and everyone has that right to do what's best for them. In my case, however, that's not what's best for me, and that needs to be taken into consideration as an American. You have...
And Amy, I mean, look, obviously you've got a family to feed. You got 6 kids, as I understand it. And so, when you're being forced to, I don't think that you would be without orders or without your customers, but your margins would be cut severely if you were forced to go into carry out like a lot of these places have. But I guess my question to you is, do you feel like you've and your establishment and your family have been specifically targeted? Do you feel like they've come after you to make some sort of an example of you or anything like that?
Yeah, and that's fine. I can recognize that, but there is no science. There's no proof. There's no excuses. There's no data. What Governor Whitmore refers to her science or data as a reasoning behind these orders, but there's no transparency with that. And without that transparency, it's really difficult to take it serious, as they say. And like I said, we have 0 cases.
Right.
I don't believe it is a risk. We live in a very small town. We serve our friends and neighbors who've been supportive. Obviously, this is a family-owned restaurant. This is our livelihood. We've put a lot into it, and the decision to stay open regardless, obviously purely financially, you're looking at closure. Like you stated, 33% of all restaurants will not be reopening. You're talking about lifestyle, you're talking about humanity, obviously the right to earn an income for my family, feed my kids. That's what's at stake here.
Sure. Amy, I got 10 seconds here. What's your message to other restaurants? Do you think there's any sort of, strength in unity here? Do you think that other restaurants should follow your lead?
Absolutely. We have the Night Owl Cafe in Lawrence just doing that. There's a lot of people who are afraid to step up, and I believe they should. There is no science, and I want to reiterate that. This is America. We have the best scientists, and we want some answers. Until they do that, we plan to press on regardless.
Yeah, good stuff. Amy, I know you got a court hearing later this week. We'll continue to track what's going on with the restaurant up in Calumet. Thank you so much for taking the time. Sorry you got to go through all this, but we'll keep an eye out for you and keep us up to date on what's going on, all right?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep, you got it. Amy Heikkinen, owner of Cafe Rosetta up in Calumet. That's the latest here on the Frank Beckmann Show. All right, more on the Frank Beckmann Show coming up, 800-859-0957. But first off to the roadways with Dana Clark.
Lots of clouds out there today. Temperatures holding rather steady in the low to mid 30s. Cloudy tonight. A few flurries, even a light snow shower possible upper 20s. Mostly cloudy skies Tuesday and Wednesday, mid 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ken Boone on News Talk 760 WJR.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/new.
Let's see here. Sandy, when are you guys going back into the studio? I don't know, Sandy. It's a great question. We are just following the orders and protocol of our upper management, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So yeah, I don't know. I hope soon. I can tell you that. I hope very soon. Let's see here. Bill, so sad what's happening to restaurants. The economy, including restaurants, need to reopen. People are getting sick at home. I mean, look, my whole thing with the restaurants, right, is they should be able to open. As long as they're following proper safety protocols, they should be able to remain open. You should have personal choice in whether or not you want to go to a restaurant or not. A restaurant, as a matter of fact, should have the ability to decide whether they want to be open or not. They don't even have that option right now. And that's the part where I think people are frustrated. That's the part where I think people go, well, wait a second. You're not even giving us a chance. If restaurants don't want to be open, if they want to stay closed, if they want to, if they've got a family member or they themselves are worried about this virus, worried about bringing it home, worried about contracting it because they've got some sort of underlying health condition, fine, stay closed. That's your prerogative. But as of now, they don't even have that option. That's the problem. So look, I've got a 2-year-old. We're not going around and going to restaurants. That's just not what we're doing because that's our choice. But some people may want to go to a restaurant. Some people may want to go out and sit somewhere and have a drink and have a meal. And that's their prerogative. As long as safety measures are being followed, I don't see the issue. Patrick, people get sick at home, then stubborn people go out to eat while sick. Then you have another breakout. By the way, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. I hope you had a nice holiday and good to be back with you. Exactly. We went to Applebee's for my birthday in November and they were prepared. Sure. Yes. I think that's the proper way to do it. And I think most restaurants, if not every single restaurant in this state, are taking the proper measures. I just believe they are. Anyway, so that's what we got going on. Nicholas, you have anything to add? What are you doing there?
I'm just getting used to all these callers, Chris.
Yes, we've got callers. Yes. Yeah, we've got a lot of look. This is what happens when you've been away for a couple of week and a half here or so. The people are excited to talk. We're excited to hear them out. And I'll tell you, my wireless mouse is on the fritz. This is terrible.
I'm coming back.
Try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. It's the number 40 caller text. We're also live on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you want to check us out there, you're more than welcome to, obviously. We try to bring you exclusive content specifically to that platform. I'm considering moving to a fake tree. We'll talk about it on there if you want to head over. But that's for over there. But for you guys, look, we're on to this Trump thing. We're on to the president talking to the Secretary of State in Georgia. And I have 2 questions for you. One, what do you think of it? Give me your reaction to it. Number 2, how do you think this impacts the runoff? Because I'll tell you what, I don't think it helps. I think it hurts, Purdue and hurts Loeffler more than it helps him. And from a GOP perspective, keeping control of the Senate it's just so important. You can't take your eye off that ball. So I'm curious to know where your head's at. And I'll tell you what, we're going to get into this too, because now you've got a couple of senators led by Ted Cruz who are going to just flat out challenge the electoral votes. And they're going to ask for a 10-day commission to handle an emergency audit. And we'll bring you audio on that too, because Ted Cruz has spoke out and he's very passionate about it. So I'm interested to get your thoughts on that too. All right, right to the phones, 800-859-0957. Let's go to Fred and Davidson. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, Chris. You've got an interesting show today.
I hope that's a good interesting. Go ahead.
Well, it is, and I certainly like your view too. You're kind of sitting on the fence and it's an interesting view because I believe if you tell a story enough times, you're going to get people to believe in that story. Donald Trump started his voter fraud in 2016, and he continued it before the 2020 election. He always made the claim that there's going to be voter fraud, the machines are faulty. And Georgia's a good example. Georgia had 3 voter recall checks.
Correct.
They hand counted them, and you know what? He still lost by 12,000 votes.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's why it's important when you hear some of this audio that we played, and we'll play it again later in the show. But when you hear, somebody like the Secretary of State there in Raffensperger who says, "Look, your numbers are wrong, Mr. President. Your numbers aren't right. Your information isn't correct. We've already recounted this thing. We feel that this is an accurate vote." And that's what Brad Raffensperger is saying. So I tend to, I'm on your side, Fred. I just don't know. I don't know what else there is for him to find in the state of Georgia. I mean, do you tend to believe what?
To know that if somebody tells you a story, if I told you a story that my neighbor knew someone who had 12,000 votes in the back of his trunk, and they're going to switch him from Biden to Trump, you'd believe that, or you'd get some people to believe it. Unfortunately, number one, your show is a great show, but it's a Rush Limbaugh warm-up show. Number two, Donald Trump is a con man, and everybody that believes in Donald Trump has drunk the Kool-Aid. You believe that?
Oh, I can't. No, I don't believe that. No, I don't. I don't believe. I think that there are many people that can vote for somebody based on the topics, and they could not like everything they do. And I appreciate the call. I just no, I don't buy that. Let's go to Kirk in Waterford. Good morning, Kirk. And Kirk. All right, let's go to Elizabeth in Garden City. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning. I just want to re-echo what your last caller said. If you listen to the tape, Trump says things like, "I heard this. People have told me this. I've read that."
Rumors.
But that's not evidence. That's not solid evidence.
Correct.
And, and 30 courts have already thrown the suits out of fraudulence. And these courts were presided over by Republican-appointed judges. The Supreme Court wouldn't even hear the case because of lack of evidence. So, if there was fraud, okay, show us the evidence. And as far as the tape being released, I've read, okay, and I'm saying I read, but Mr. Raffensperger didn't want the tape released unless the president attacked state officials or misrepresented what had been discussed, which he did in his Twitter the following day. And then the other point I want to make about the electoral college vote coming up on Wednesday is that 4 of the, I think 12 or 13 senators that have come out and said they're going to question the vote, they were, 4 of those senators were elected in this election that they're questioning. I mean, they're questioning the election that got them into office. So it doesn't even make sense to me.
Well, look, and I've contested all the way that, look, I'm willing to hear about voter fraud. I really am. I'm absolutely willing to hear it. You just got to show me the evidence. Show it to me. I'm willing to hear it. I'm willing to hear how this election was fraud to Timbuktu. I'm ready to hear it. But you got to show us. You got to show me. Show me that there was fraud. Where is the evidence? Because now we're into January and no court is touching it. The Supreme Court doesn't want it. So again, I'm willing to hear it, but I think you're right. When you listen to what he says, the president, I mean, in these this audio that was leaked, which I'm sure was leaked by the state of Georgia and the Secretary of State's office, somebody in the office. At least that's my speculation. It's a lot of, I heard this. You're right. You're absolutely right, Elizabeth. And he said he heard a rumor. The rumor is that they're shredding documents and Dominion's coming in and changing out machines. And Ryan Germany, the counsel for Brad Raffensperger, says, no, it's not true. It's not true. And then the president says, look, are they changing parts inside the machine and replacing with new parts? No, it's not true. So I again, these are the things that I think I think a lot of people look. This is you're coming down to the wire here. You're coming down to the wire, and they're going to need to make a decision. So now Wednesday, they're going to call for this emergency audit. It's going to be a 10-day audit, which will put you at January 16th. And then I guess what? Will it be, will that be the end of it? So we'll see. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. But we're going to have to get to a point here. And look, I'm not saying that there isn't fraud. I think there's probably some sort of fraud in every election. I believe that. But whether or not there's enough widespread fraud to overturn an election, I'm just not sure. Specifically this election. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. All right, a lot more to come on the show this morning. And now we've got this new strain of COVID making its way around the United States. Colorado, California, Florida, it's popping up all over the place. Is it something that's even worse than this COVID-19 that we've been dealing with? Is this new strain more, are you more likely to get it? Is it more contagious? Is it easier to contract? We'll talk to one of our experts coming up next. 800-859-0957. All right, off to the roadways we go with Dana Clark.
Hi, I'm Charity Burke, Executive Director of the Oakland Mediation Center. Oakland Mediation Center is a volunteer-based nonprofit organization and leader in the field of alternative dispute resolution.
All right. Let's see here. All right, I'll tell you what. I want to get to a couple of your comments here. Oh, let me say, great job the last 5 years, Nick. You should be proud on that. Proud of that on your resume. Agreed. Nick did a fantastic job.
With help from Chris.
Fantastic job, Nicholas.
Yes.
I was no help. I was probably more of a hindrance than a help.
You usually were, yeah.
Yes. Garbage in, garbage out. The ballots need to be reviewed. Did you see the expert in Georgia testify? He can review the ballots 500,000 in 2 hours.
Join us in empowering.
Well, that would be pretty interesting. Thousands of affidavits, OMG, evidence galore. Has anyone watched the hearings at the state level? There's evidence. The courts don't hear the evidence. They find BS to not hear the case. Well, maybe. Look, but Bill, at the end of the day, it's up to the court whether or not the case, the evidence is worthy of a case. And apparently it isn't.
We can change that.
Trump supporters are waiting for the Kraken to be released, but there is no Kraken. I don't know. We're waiting. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I'm just
JR Detroit and WDVD HD2 Detroit. 760 WJR, where Detroit comes to talk.
Nationwide, the COVID-19
I can't really hear you, Chris.
Oh, how about now? Can you hear me now?
A little better, yeah.
A little better. Okay. All right.
There we go.
So I've got we Christmas, and we do the real Christmas tree, right? And I had enough this year, and I said to my wife, I said, look, I'm probably done with this real tree thing. I'm just done, because it was two things. One, we spent a lot of money on these trees. These trees aren't really very cheap, and we couldn't even hang probably half of our ornaments on the tree.
Why?
Because the branches weren't strong enough.
Of inoculating 20 million.
And so it's like,
2020.
okay, so I can't even hang up my stuff, which is fine. Like we may do. But then it was after the fact of like, so we get the tree like right after Thanksgiving, right? And then it's the needles that just inevitably fall. You can't control it. And so you have it for what, a month, a little over a month. And we water it all the time. The tree's in fine shape. It's still green. It's not dead, but it's like, and now I have to clean up 8 pounds of needles.
Well, are you watering it properly?
Every day. Well, probably not every day, every other day. We have a really large base. And so it holds a substantial amount of water. But I'm just saying, I just said, this might be it.
What was her response?
No, that's my response. I said this might be it.
What was your wife's response?
Well, she's lukewarm on it. She's about I'm about the real tree. I love real trees, and she's is as well. But I just said, look, this is crazy. Let's just spend the $300, $400 on a fake tree. We'll keep it for 10 years, and away we go. I did this real tree thing this year because you got to vacuum it off the tree skirt. Then we have something that goes right on the floor. It's like a pad that the tree stand sits on. So if there's water that leaks from it, it goes on this pad and on the carpet. So you got to get all the needles off there. Then it's like this, 8-foot radius of needles everywhere.
It sounds like a 1-hour job.
Yes, that's true. You're probably right. But it's like an hour. I could be doing something else. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Patrick says fake trees safer, save money, and less hassle. The less hassle is really what I'm about. Also, right. You could get my lawn guy to come in and deal with the tree in the off season. Great point, Patrick.
Just have your son handle the tree.
Jake is useless. He really is useless. He's 2.5. He doesn't do anything. He just plays with his toys. Well, I'm sitting there sweating, because it's hot in my house because he's a baby, so he needs to have Sandy, are you whining? Yes, you're right. All right, Sandy, thank you. See, that's it. It all takes is Sandy to come in and go, stop whining. All right, fair enough. Thank you, Sandy.
Scrooge.
No, it's not a Scrooge. And this year, more than ever, I was so into Christmas. I started watching.
Well, you're so far into Christmas. I'm still waiting for my Christmas gift.
Yeah, it's coming. Did you get my Christmas card?
I did.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I think I got it pretty late.
Yeah, you did get it late. Yeah, you did. Anyway, look, we still have a lot to do on the show. Appreciate you tuning in and watching. I just looked the tree thing. I'm just interested to know what you think. Have you gone to the fake tree? The people who transition from the real tree to the fake tree, that's who I really want to talk to. Because I do love the tree smell. It's great. But I'm just sitting there with the shop vac, just over and over. And it's just,
we're coming back.
More than ever, we need your help to provide emergency relief to military families. Help now at helpymca.org.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
All right, so now here we go. You got Dr. Fauci saying there's this glimmer of hope, right, with the vaccine, which is great. And it sounds like more and more people across the country are getting vaccinated, which is fine. I think that's good. So now, though, we heard about it first originating in the UK and England. This new strain that had evolved from SARS-CoV-2, the one that we are well aware of at this point, and it had evolved and manifested into this different strain of SARS-CoV-2. And so the question is, and it seems that a lot of people across the country are worried that this is more contagious, which is frightening considering how contagious this this initial strain of COVID-19 continues to be. But the worry is whether or not this is more contagious. And even look, we just got this vaccine on the market a couple weeks ago. Is this going to even be effective? So we thought, look, we could speculate till the cows come home, but it's important that we get somebody on who can make hay of this. Dr. Matthew Sims, of course, Director of Infectious Disease Research at Beaumont Health, joins us this morning here on the Frank Beckmann Show. Doc, good morning to you.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm terrific. Happy New Year to you. I'm so
Happy New
interested
Year.
to get your take on this new mutation of SARS-CoV-2 and what it means for us. So help us make sense of it. What is this thing?
Sure. So viruses frequently mutate in the environment, in the host, and you get multiple strains. This is not uncommon. We see it with the flu all the time. With flu, because of the way it changes, that's part of why we have to sometimes have a new vaccine every year, and sometimes it comes out of nowhere where it changes tremendously, and we have to quickly make a new vaccine, like we did with H1N1 back in 2009. Other viruses change more slowly, but they all change somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Coronavirus changes just like every other one. We've been seeing multiple strains across the world almost from the beginning. This one is just the first time where the strain does seem to be different from the baseline strain in terms of how infective it is.
So in terms of the worry, because now this has made its way to our country here in the mainland. It originated in, I believe the first case was in Colorado, then it moved to California, now in Florida. And I think states across the country are preparing for more of these to pop up in their states. I'm sure Michigan would be on that list at some point. But I guess my question to you is this thing as contagious, less contagious, more contagious as we've heard from the initial strain? Is there any way to know that yet?
So, that's a difficult question to answer fully. It does appear to be more contagious than the initial strain was. It does seem to infect children a little easier than the initial strain did. And it's right now about, in the UK, it was representing about 70% of the cases. Now, that sounds like a lot, but there are different things that can account for it. It could be more contagious. It could stay around longer in the body. It could have had more super spreader events. It's hard to know for sure exactly how much more contagious it is than another strain. You can do those experiments, in the lab, but that doesn't necessarily tell you how well what it really is out in real life. So we believe it's more contagious. We believe the vaccine still works just fine on it. And that's a really important thing because, as you said, the vaccine is just getting out there now, and we'd hate to find out that we've got a new strain that it already doesn't work on. But it does appear that it does. And
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was one of my main questions. I mean, look, we spend a lot of time and a lot of research and a lot of manpower and testing had been done on these vaccines. So I'm happy to hear that it at least initially appears that it's going to be effective. In terms of what we can be doing to avoid this, because again, in terms of the lethalness of this, does it appear to be any more lethal, any more dangerous, to any sort of age
does not.
than the other? Okay.
Yeah, so far it doesn't appear to be more lethal. It just appears to be more contagious. That's, again, a very important point. And what we do to avoid it, just like what we've been saying all along, masking, social distancing, avoiding crowds, hand hygiene, cough etiquette, all the things to prevent it from spreading from one person to another. They don't change, right? They always stay the same. And then the vaccine, when you can get it, when it's available to you, get the vaccine. I've already had my first dose. I get my next dose at the end of the week. I'm very happy to have been able to get it.
How'd you feel?
Fine. I had the day I got it, no problem. The next day, my arm was a little sore, about the same as I get from a flu shot. The day after that, it was gone.
I find that to be at least that's good. That at least that you feel good after it, and again, it gives you that extra level of protection. I guess my whole thing is, now that we enter, we're into 2021 now, and we've got, we'll by February, even end of this month, we're going to be all within reach of a full year of learning, studying, and trying to gain more information about this virus. When do we consider a virus to be not novel anymore? When do we feel that we've learned enough about it to where we can kind of move past it and say we kind of have a handle on this thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a difficult one to answer. It's already not novel, right? We've been living with it for over a year. December 31st of 2019. That was the first reported cases. Now, it was probably around before that, and not, maybe not as well recognized, but the first confirmed cases were December 31st of 2019. So just over a year now. It's novel in terms of it's only a year old, but we have learned a tremendous amount. We're learning more every day. The amount of literature that has been published on this is astounding. Just how much information is incredible. Now, when does it become not novel? So we need to get a certain amount of control over it. We're still not in control of this, right? We need it to be more like what flu is. Because, to be honest, it's not going away. It's not going to be like SARS, where one day we were able to completely control it and it's gone. It's going to be there. It's going to be out in the environment. It's going to be out in people. It's going to be like flu or other respiratory viruses. Yeah. We're going to need to keep the vaccinations up. If new strains do come out where the vaccine doesn't protect as much, we're going to need to generate a new version of the vaccine, just like we do with flu. But it's going to be simpler now because we know how to make it. They also designed this vaccine so that the areas the antibodies are made against are the areas that are really hard for the virus to change and still function. So we have a little bit more protection, we think, with this vaccine than we would with maybe a flu vaccine.
Yeah. Good
These
stuff.
are all important things, but we're going to have to be aggressive in the future about maintaining that control.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Thank you so much, Doc. We always appreciate your time and expertise. Thanks for taking some time with us.
Oh, of course. Take care.
Yep, you too. Dr. Matthew Sims, Director of Infectious Disease Research at Beaumont Health. Always a wealth of information. All right. More on the Frank Beckmann Show coming up. 800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR. But first, up to the roadways with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Temperatures to remain at or a little above average as we head through much of the week. Mostly cloudy skies out there today. Temperatures remaining rather steady in the low to mid 30s. Cloudy tonight, a few flurries, couple of light snow showers possible, upper 20s. Cloudy tomorrow, mid 30s. Mostly cloudy mid 30s again Wednesday. From the Weather Channel, I'm Ken Boone on News Talk 760 WJR.
Has life insurance crossed your mind lately? If so, you're not alone. According to CNBC, there's been more interest in life insurance this year than in any year in recent history. Hi, I'm Randy Hoover, founder and president of Hoover & Associates. We've been helping Michigan families and businesses with their life insurance needs for over 30 years. We can help you design a coverage solution that's right for you. As independent agents, we can help you find the right policy from the right company at the right price. We understand the life insurance process can be daunting and even complex. Our office is there each step of the way.
All right, let's see here. Can we get that as a soundbite? Jake is useless. He is. He's 2.5. He doesn't do anything. Patrick, fake tree. Oh, so this is the concoction to get that smell. Fake tree. Light some pine candles or pine scented wax burners. Patrick, look, I got to be honest. Our house during Christmas, between like this past weekend and the weekend after Thanksgiving, my house smells like a forest. We got the tree, we got the candles, we got the
aren't going to save you any money. The candles are almost more expensive than the tree.
No, it's not. The cost is not coming into play here. I'm just saying, if I go the fake tree route, I still need the smell. I love the pine smell. So I have to maintain that smell even if I get the fake tree. But with that said, I'm okay. We do the candles even in addition to the real tree. I tell you, my house smells like I don't know. It smells like a national forest. It's just pine everywhere.
Let's face it.
Are you guys candle lighters after the holiday season as well? Like, will you have some?
I'm a big candle guy. I love
candles.
Yes, yeah. We do all the seasons. Like in the summer, we got like the sandals on the beach or whatever they call it. I don't know, whatever they call it. But we do that absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Can't do that.
Yeah. Especially this year. We couldn't go anywhere. And we're like, we're canceling vacations to the beach and whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna need all the candles that resemble, sweaty flip-flops and suntan lotion. I'm gonna need all that. So yeah, I'm a big candle guy. Bill, I had my flu shot in October. I wonder how many people are actually getting the flu. Well, it sounds like a lot of the flu. The flu is sounds like it's down this year.
We're coming back.
So we'll see.
The Frank Beckman Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckman, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR, the number 4 to call or text. Like Johnny Chesterfield did, you can't show voter fraud when the courts won't touch it. Shame on our courts. A fraud is a fraud and needs to be exposed. Well, I agree with that. I mean, look, if there is voter fraud, if there is something to be looked at, then they need to look at it. Period. End of story. The courts dismissed many of the lawsuits out of hand. It's impossible to judge the veracity of evidence if courts don't take the first step and actually hear the cases. Angie for more. Agreed. And that's an important point to make. And maybe that's where the president's camp and the president are so frustrated, because they feel like they've got this information and it's valid information according to them, but the courts won't touch it, so they don't have much of a leg to stand on if they can't get in court. Almost at any level. 800-859-0957. Let's go to the lake and talk to Ken, who's on the lake. Ken, good morning to you.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you.
You're on the lake. What do you mean you're on the lake?
Say again?
I hear you're on the lake. Where are you on the lake?
Well, no, we're not on the lake. Ottawa Lake is a little pond.
Ottawa Lake.
Pretty much.
Ottawa
Lake. Ottawa Lake.
I see. I thought you were ice fishing or something. All right, Ken from Ottawa Lake. What do you got for me?
I'm concerned about what's going on in Georgia too. As much as I love our president, he misses a lot of opportunities to not say something. But I am really concerned about our state also. So, Chris, I would please get a knowledgeable member of our state legislature on your show, maybe Shirky, to explain to me and thousands of other Michiganders what is going on in our state. Why does our legislature appear to be so toothless, gutless, and impotent? The Supreme Court has ruled that the 1945 law was unconstitutional, but Our governor vetoes the bill to nullify it and still invokes it by saying the epidemic may last more than 28 days. Well, of course they do. But by that time, they're not an emergency anymore, but they're a long-term event, which the legislature has an obligation to consider. But this legislature apparently just sits there picking their noses. You know, I'm a Korean veteran. My brothers are, my 2 brothers are Vietnam veterans. My son was a Gulf War veteran. I had uncles on Okinawa and one in the Battle of the Bulge. And our freedoms were bought at an awesome price. It took 4 years and thousands of lives to overthrow Nazism and secure those freedoms. But here in Michigan, we're rolling over and giving up those freedoms that cost us so dearly. Hitler would be jealous as how easily it could be done.
Well, look, I appreciate your service and the service of your family. So thank you for that. I think just like just how I was kind of talking about the president and going through the courts and determining, what the courts are going to take up. The same applies here. I mean, the governor is using the powers as she sees fit, right or wrong. But it's up to the lawsuits that are pending in the courts, whether or not that this is going to, make a difference. Unfortunately for us, is she's making these unilateral decisions, her and her administration. And we have to deal with the consequences now. So even when a court comes back and says, and if they come back and say, look, this was unconstitutional, you can't do that, and the Department of Health and Human Services overstepped their bounds and they shouldn't have done this. Well, unfortunately, we still lived it all. We still had to deal with stores being, at limited capacity, and restaurants couldn't go eat at a restaurant, and restaurant owners just hemorrhaging money, and restaurant employees hemorrhaging money because they don't have an income source. We had to live all those things, and those people who are really struggling had to live all of those things. So yeah, I mean, look, I think they all have their due process and they all have to go through those things, but how I still haven't gotten an explanation on how the Department of Health and Human Services can use epidemic orders, which is different from a pandemic, to continue to use these unilateral decisions to make, certain sectors of our economy, i.e. restaurants, close down. I don't understand it. Haven't gotten an explanation on it. And I imagine in court, it would be challenged when I know it's in the court system. Ken, thanks for the call. Let's go to Charlene and Troy. Good morning, Charlene.
Morning.
Hey.
Going to take you off speakerphone here.
That would be
well,
perfect.
I got several points I want to make, so hope you give me time.
All right.
Okay, I was listening on One American News Network, and they were interviewing Derek Oltman, and he had found Eric Comer, who was the head of Dominion, had put on his website, I don't know if it was Facebook or whatever, about how he was going to make sure that Trump didn't get reelected, and he was going to do this and that and the other thing. So he copied all his rants in case they later deleted them, which they did. So here you have the head of Dominion saying that he's going to do whatever it takes to make sure that Trump doesn't win. And then you have Biden on they post on the internet saying that they have constructed the most elaborate voter fraud system ever constructed in the history of the United States. I went on and saw it. I heard about it on Russia's program. It's right there, him saying it. Then you have the mail-in. They say, well, no voter fraud. Well, the mail-in in Georgia, there were no verification on the signatures. So that's an illegal vote then. They have all these illegal votes where there were no signatures verified, yet they're counting them as valid votes. So don't tell me there's not voter fraud. You got the head of Dominion saying that we're going to make sure that Trump doesn't win. So you're going to tell me that he isn't doing something with the voting machines to make sure that there's not a funny business going on to make sure that those votes for Trump aren't counted or aren't.
Okay, Charlene, let me play devil's advocate here for you, okay? Let me just play devil's advocate. So is he saying that as a Biden supporter? Like he's going to go out and make sure that he's going to go stump for for Joe Biden and we're going to go out and make sure that Donald Trump doesn't win. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure Donald Trump doesn't win. Or is he literally specifically talking about altering machines? See, he doesn't say. So when we don't know what that means. It's vague, right? So yes, it can certainly appear shady, but what does that mean? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure. I'm pretty sure from what Derek Altman said, and I don't remember verbatim now, that they were going to mess with the machines. And you should have Derek Altman on. He has copies of the rants from Eric Comer as to how they were going to do it. And he copied it to make sure, in case they deleted it, that he had copies of what his rants were. So maybe you should have this guy on and interview him.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can track him down. Charlene, I appreciate the call. Thank you. I mean, it's good stuff. My point is, this is where we're at. So, I mean, you talk about these things. We have to be careful in terms of what's real, what isn't. I mean, I personally haven't seen some of these things that you're talking about. So I can't personally back or detract from any of them because I haven't seen them. So whether or not they're real, whether or not they're rumors, whether or not it's speculation, I don't know. But we'll see what we can track down and see what we can find out. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. That's the number 4 to call or text. On the other side, now we've got sitting senators on the Hill talking about they will be challenging the electoral votes. We'll get to what that is and what it means, and we'll shake it all out for you coming up next. 800-859-0957. But first off, the roadways with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Secure Your Meds. While we all focus on staying safe, now more than ever, it's important to take inventory of the medications in your home and keep them safe too. Now is the time to clean out, secure, and safely store your medicines. Visit DEATakeback.com.
For over 100 years, Absopure has remained committed to serving communities throughout Michigan. And now, in your changed work environment,
always have. Absopure is dedicated to providing offices with top-notch.
Chris.
Yes.
We have some breaking Lions news.
Breaking Lions news.
Lions coaching staff is coaching search is off and running as they have requested interviews with 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, Saints assistant head coach and tight ends coach Dan Campbell, who played for the Lions.
Okay.
Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy.
Okay.
So Robert Saleh will be interviewing with Detroit most likely this week.
Robert Saleh and Eric Bieniemy. Those are my favorites. I would prefer Bieniemy, but
really,
yeah,
I would not.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this goes. I anticipate they'll hire a general manager before a coach. Correct?
Likely, yeah.
That's the safe bet.
Get a general manager before they start interviewing coaches.
No, yeah. Jason's asking if they need a GM before interviewing coaches. I think. Well, I think when they interview GMs, the GM has a coach in mind.
Sure.
And then they'll then interview those coaches and see what they think of those coaches. So.
Sounds like SOL to me.
The Secretary of State sent out applications for ballots to all the people on the rolls. That was not a function brought or approved by the legislature. Should have not happened. Legislature has the power. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, the thing is, we had, I guess I don't remember who it was. Maybe with Judge Cynthia Stevens, who obviously has a heavy bias towards favoring the left. But apparently the ruling from the courts was it was legal to send those out. Again, that's what they said. Kathy, where's Frank? Frank is on vacation this week. So I will be joining you. So thanks for tuning in. Eric Homer was on a conference call with BLM and Joe Oltmann, who was also on the call. He's very deep in this and has armed security. If you could get Joe Oltmann from Conservative Daily, that would be great. Can you see anyone from KC leaving the way the team is going? Well, I mean, look, if you've got a head coaching gig, yeah, I could see you leaving. Right? Better to be a head coach than a coordinator, I suppose.
Pays better.
Certainly would pay better.
So there's more details. They will be interviewing Bieniemy today.
Oh,
be interviewing Daryl Bevel tomorrow and Robert Saleh on Thursday. The other two names, Arthur Smith and Dan Campbell, will be next week. That's according to Albert Greer from
who's being interviewed? You said today?
Eric Bieniemy.
Bieniemy and who else?
Bevel will be tomorrow. Daryl Bevel.
Bevel's tomorrow. Okay.
And Saleh.
What do you think of the job Bevel did?
I mean, the cards are stacked against him.
For sure.
It's obvious that the talent wasn't good enough. So I don't know what people expected him to do. I thought the players played for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think they respect him, but it's going to be a tough road for him to get the job.
It's certainly, I mean, I think it's important that they find somebody who's a real leader. I mean, obviously,
a leader. Yeah. I mean,
the X's and O's thing is certainly important, but finding somebody who is a true bona fide leader and you're willing to go to the mat for them, I think is really important.
Yeah. Well, I was on that Rod Wood and Chris Spielman call when they announced the hiring of Chris Spielman, and they said the word culture probably 40 times. So
yeah. Well,
culture is huge for them in this hire.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
What
mean,
that is, we don't know.
Well, it sounds like the culture wasn't where they wanted it to be under this past GM and head coach. And so with that being said, you're looking to change some things. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they do. I really like Eric Bieniemy. I think he's creative. Now he's the pieces that he's got in place are, I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
You got a lot of really good young talent.
Really as read up on Bieniemy as I should be, but just the fact that he doesn't, I mean, he's the OC, but he doesn't call plays. So it's
That's
kind
true.
of like, I mean, yeah, he's very involved in the game planning, and I'm sure he has say in what happens on game day, but Andy Reid's still the guru behind that offense.
Sure, absolutely. But I think when you're under the tutelage of somebody, well, and you got somebody like Tyreek Hill, and yeah, that all helps a lot.
Travis Kelce,
sure. So I mean, look, and you know, your third receiver or second receiver, you got Watson, and it's just the really good team. So I think learning under somebody like Andy Reid is a big deal. So anyway, but that's good. That's interesting. So they're getting right into it. So day after the season, and they're on to interviewing, and well, I think it's important too. I mean, right? Because you're going to get people on board, and they're going to have to figure out the draft, because that's coming up too.
Yeah,
you're locked into 7, and you got to figure out what you want to do.
Provide emergency relief to military families. Help now at helpymca.org.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR, the number for you to call and text. So now we've got a number now, and the number is growing, of senators who are going to challenge the electoral votes. And kind of leading that charge is Ted Cruz out of Georgia, or I'm sorry, out of Texas. And he very much spells it out, and he says, look, I'm doing this. I got a group together, and we're going to go ahead, and we're going to find out what happened. And we're going to find out through a 10-day emergency audit headed up by a committee that we appoint. And I think he says something very interesting, and I'm going to play the cut, because there is a level of distrust in what happened on November 3rd and in the following days. And whether or not the courts have done anything with it, whether or not the president's campaign are able to do anything with it, I think it's important that we get to a place where we can at least feel that everything was done at least to a place of satisfaction from our democratic standpoint, from our republic's standpoint. You may not like the outcome, and a lot of people don't, but at least we can get to a place where we can say, okay, we can at least move on. And I think Ted Cruz, who put this group of senators together, and there are a number of people on the House side that are going to object to this as well. But I think he said it best. Jason, give me cut 7, please.
We've seen in the last 2 months unprecedented allegations of voter fraud. And that's produced a deep, deep distrust of our democratic process across the country. I think we in Congress have an obligation to do something about that. We have an obligation to protect the integrity of the democratic system.
And he was on with Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Features. And I think that's a great point. I think it's a great point. But I do believe I believe it's important that we get to a point where at least people are okay with what happened. I mean, you may not be happy that Biden's going to end up being president, but at least you can go, okay, well, at least our democratic republic isn't shot. At least we're not wounded here. And so that, to me, I at least feel confident in these legislators, these lawmakers on the Hill taking this step. Because normally I would say this is a bad move. I think it's a bad move, generally. It's only happened one other time in history, back in the late 1800s. But in terms of now, here and now, and what this means, because some people will say, look, you are absolutely killing democracy. You are absolutely killing our process of doing things. And I suppose maybe that's true, but we've got a huge faction of people in this country that just don't believe it. And whether or not they don't believe it because the president's telling them that it was rigged, and this thing is being stolen from them. Whatever it may be, there are people that just don't buy it. And if that's the case, and it is the case, then I think it's okay for these lawmakers to take this step. And Jason, give me cut 9 here. More of Ted Cruz talking about the election results and the importance of not just sweeping them under the rug.
We ought to have a fair inquiry, a fair audit into these results, and we ought to resolve these claims, not just dismiss them out of hand.
And all they're doing is asking for the 10-day emergency audit. 10 days. It'll take them to January 16th, 17th perhaps, depending on how quick they move on this. And it'll be done. And if everything is as it stands now, then away we go to Inauguration Day in a few days. Love to know what you think of this. Are you on board with this? Are you on board with these lawmakers on Capitol Hill doing this? Do you think it's a knock on our democracy, a knock on our democratic republic? 800-859-0957. Let's go to Debbie in Oxford. Good morning, Deb.
Hey. You there?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I want to call about one thing, and I've written 50 million more things down. I'm like, oh my God. First of all, the idiot from Georgia that recorded Trump, he knew he was recording him. He tried to make him look bad. Trump did say everything he should, and I don't believe Trump did anything wrong. So let's stop that. Roberts from the Supreme Court yelled and screamed about they don't want riots. Well, if you're afraid to take a case because you're afraid of riots, you don't belong on the Supreme Court, number 2.
Great point.
Number 3, you want your evidence. Okay, Georgia was videotaped. They had a water leak in the morning, nothing major. It was a toilet overflow, no big deal. They tried to lie about that. Then they videotaped them, and they sent everybody home, and then they, underneath the desk, they went and got votes, put them through, and that's why you said something about, the congressmen and on the news thing, the Congress people won. Yeah, because they just put through the Biden votes. They didn't put through the congressmen and senators and all the other stuff that should have been through. Nevada, the guy was on Fox yesterday now, and this is another thing. If you listen to your CNN, ABC, CBS, and all your DNC propaganda TV, you are going to be clueless all the rest of your life and how great Biden is. Trust me, under Obama, our world crashed, especially being a retired person like me. So in Nevada, they said 130,000 counts should be going towards Trump. And the reason was they had illegals, the people double voted, and people had their post office gone sent to the businesses, which you have to have a house registered. So nobody verifies the signatures, and they said this was going to be a disaster. They knew it before it even happened. So I'm sorry, the election laws were not upheld. Pennsylvania, they turned them down. They should have. Pennsylvania had people voting. They took their votes 3 days later. That's against the election laws. Jocelyn Benson threw out all these. They sent the ballots to the houses. She's not allowed to do that. The city townships have to. So she violated an election law. Everybody's doing something they shouldn't have done, and then they're all saying we lost. Well, if you see riots in the streets, you see the police being defunded. Who are you going to vote for? The guy that's going to save you, or Biden that has a 30-car show?
Yeah. Interesting stuff, Debbie. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm up against it. 800-859-0957. Off to the roadways we go with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Mostly cloudy skies today. Temperatures remaining rather steady in the low to mid 30s. Cloudy tonight, a few flurries, even a light snow shower or two possible. Temperatures tonight into the upper 20s. Cloudy tomorrow, mid 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ken Boone on News Talk 760 WJR.
Hindsight is 2020. 2020 was a brutal year with a lot we couldn't control. Pandemic, economy, unemployment. What can we control? Our job, our career. In 2020, my computer career helped more people start IT careers than ever. Don't look back with 20.
All right, here, let's see. Bill, it's not a judge or governor function. Only legislature can affect the manner and means of an election. True. Mark, Chris, great topics today. Always good to hear all sides. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mark. Anne Marie, sad. None of this is funny when you have millions of American citizens questioning election integrity and turning it to media to help flesh out the truth. That's true. I mean, many people across this country they don't believe what's happened. They don't believe it. And so there does need to be a level. Something needs to give, so at least people can one way or the other, find some answers here. Bill, if it was true and fair, I'm all in terms of the election. If it was fair and true, and Biden wins, you're fine. Carol, if it wasn't for Frank Beckmann and Rush Limbaugh, as well as their respective guest hosts, WJR and its listeners wouldn't have a clue as to what is contained in the U.S. Constitution. And look, to me, that is the thing that really, it's all that matters. It's all that matters. What's in the Constitution? I don't believe that we should. I mean, look, you can have your party and who you believe in and who you think is the best leader and all that. But at the end of the day, it's what's in the Constitution that really matters. And if anybody, nobody on this planet, or at least in this country, is above our Constitution. It is the means in which we conduct all business. And it is the way in which we are structured to live our lives and conduct elections and participate in that process. Nobody is above that. Nobody. Let's see here. Carol, listen to Mark Levin, 8 p.m. every night here on WJR. Good point. Thank you, Bill. Yep, Mark does a great job as well. Chris, your last caller brought up a lot of good points and things to think about. Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, I do want to bring this up too. I'll have to, maybe we'll do it here in the next, we'll do it here in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll bring it up then. But these these nasty police officers, are just out there doing horrible things left and right. And I got a story of one here. Police officer does just something just terrible, and broke protocol. And we'll get to that coming up at 11:05. All right, because it's something that I think needs to be brought to your attention. And if you guys want to participate, as always, 800-859-0957. You can see it scrolling right there. I don't know how to do that because everything is turned back around on the camera. Yeah, so now it's there. Now it's going that way. There you go. Thank you, Nick. See, Nick's got it. You're doing a great job. Now there it is. See, I still can't do it. I don't know. That's very good. You're Vanna White. That's a nice job.
Yes. We were just talking about Vanna White.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, we're coming back.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. That's the number for you to call or text. Back to your phone call. I just want to make mention, coming up at 11:05, you know those nasty police officers out there, right? Those police officers, they wanted to fund, your departments and just nasty people, all those police officers. Well, I'll tell you what, I have a story, and this police officer broke protocol. He did. And it's from the East Coast. And those nasty, terrible police officers, those no good police officers, back at it again, breaking protocol. I'll tell you about it at 11:05. Don't go anywhere. All right. Because this police officer did something that I think you need to hear about. Those bad police officers. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. Off to Ann Arbor we go. We'll talk to Larry. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning.
Hey.
Good morning. I am 91 years old. I have been admitted to practice law in Michigan for 65 years. Been admitted to practice law before the U.S. Supreme Court for 60 years. And I'm greatly interested. I am a cradle Republican, having been very active in Republican affairs for years. However, I'm appalled at the president's phone call. And very frankly, I think that the Secretary of State fell into the same position that the various courts did, that if there were all of these affidavits that the president speaks of, and other physical evidence or any other types of hard evidence, 10 talented attorney could draft pleadings to all of these courts to incorporate these affidavits that they had, and none were ever done. And the courts were.
Larry, let me ask you a couple questions here, Larry. First of all, it sounds like you know the law probably like the back of your hand. So let me ask you a couple questions here. Number one, based on the audio that you heard us play today, based on the comments made by the president to Brad Raffensperger, who's the Secretary of State down in Georgia, do you think that he crossed the line into any sort of criminality?
I think that he solicited the commission of a felony, which is in turn a felony. He wanted that guy to cook the books. There's no question. It'd have to be an idiot not to interpret it that way.
All right.
So
well,
any
then
reasonable person. And earlier you had asked if Donald coming to Georgia tonight would have an effect on the election. And I think that these guys would be very, very smart to just decry what happened, and that rather than them riding in on Donald's coattails, get rid of Donald as a millstone around.
Okay, well then, Larry, let me ask you one more quick question, then I got to let you go. But why, in your estimation, why haven't the courts taken up the president's claims of voter fraud?
Because none of his lawyers were crooked enough to cook up any affidavits that said so. If there were real affidavits there, they should have been referred to and made exhibits to their pleadings. And in fact, the question would thereby have been aroused, and they would have at least listened to it. The courts had no choice. There were no alleged facts of anything having been done wrong in the pleadings. And that's as deep as the courts can look. So they got to throw them out.
Yeah, I appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Carl in East China. Good morning, Carl.
Thanks for taking my call.
You got it. What's up?
I made it to 83 by one of the things
Attaboy.
I follow very closely is logic and reason.
Okay.
Donald Trump has crowds of 5,000 to 25, 30,000 a number of times a day. It went on for weeks. Biden was in his basement. When he did come out of his basement, if he could get 150 people, he would have to bribe them with very big bribes. He had nobody listening to him. The media was 95% on what he said, and everything he said was wonderful. Everything Trump said was wrong. You look at what Trump has done in 4 years with the liberal media and the Democrats beating him up every day on something that finally, after 3.5 years, turns out to be, it wasn't true. I'm sorry. Gee, let's forget about it and go home. Logic and reason tells you that this thing stinks to high heaven. You have a guy in there that's done more for this country in 4 years than Obama did. And if he was there for 20 years, he couldn't accomplish it. He took more apart for this country than he put together. And it's nonsense when we just don't look at the logic and reason of what's going on.
All right, so let me ask you this, Carl. So now you've got these senators and a number of representatives in the House who have said that they're going to object to the Electoral College votes that are going to be coming before them this week on Wednesday. If they create the emergency audit, this 10-day audit with the commission, and they come back and say, there was fraud, but not widespread fraud, not enough to overturn this thing, what would your reaction be?
My reaction would be, okay, I'm one of your very high-end partners, okay? And you catch me in a lie. And I say to you, I don't lie all the time. We know there was fraud. We know there was fraud all over the place in the big Democratic areas. It's logical to look at it and find out what's going on. And the Constitution allows it. It's
okay, but
unbelievable.
Carl, if they come back and say that the election stands as is, and they ran through this emergency 10-day audit, will you feel comfortable at least knowing that there wasn't some sort of widespread fraud, that not enough to overturn the election. And do you feel at least comfortable in our system, that our system stands?
Absolutely not, because when you look at what Trump was doing, the crowds he gathered, what Biden was doing, the crowds he gathered, what Biden's 45 years in office has created. If you're a corporation officer and you go to a company and you take a bribe, you're done. This guy is now running for president of the United States. He's a bad person. The Democrats are a foul. Our government is out of control. Out of control.
All right, Carl. Look, I appreciate the call, and you're saying that nothing is going to change your mind. I appreciate it. I mean, look, I think that's the stance of many. I think a lot of people, even with this emergency audit, are going to go, we just don't believe it. And that's okay. But at some point, I think we have to carry on and make sure that at least our system isn't broken, that our system didn't take a hit, that our system at least will continue to stand, that our process of voting and our process of choosing the people who represent us on every level, that continues to be a solid entity, and that continues to be the way that we continue to operate. 800-859-0957. Off to the roadways we go. Check things out there with our Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Secure Your Meds. While we all focus on staying safe, now more than ever, it's important to take inventory of the medications in your home and keep them safe too. Now is the time to clean out, secure, and safely store your medicines. Visit DEATakeback.com.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at Identify EPI.
All right, here, let's see. Bill, I know you're being facetious. The police officer called on shoplifter and he bought their food instead of arresting him. Bill! Yeah, you're right. Look, my point in saying all of this, right? And you're exactly right, Bill. We'll talk about it at 11:05. But, people are so quick to throw police officers under the bus for something that they've done in a split-second decision, or something that they've done that sheds some bad light on them. And in a situation like this, in a situation where a police officer does something good, well, you get no play there. No play. So I'm excited to bring it to you. No need to apologize, Bill. Amen. Oh, it's funny. All right, so let's see here. What else do we got coming up? Oh, we've got 10 former Secretary of States urging the Pentagon to cooperate with the Biden transition. We got this sad story too out of Lyon Township. That plane crash. Did you see that? Northville home builder David Campo was in the plane with his wife and 18-year-old son that crashed in Lyon Township on Saturday. He was 60 years old, just a good guy. These people were former employees and employers and people he had worked with over the years. Built beautiful homes, loved his clients, loved working with his suppliers and subcontractors. He was the past president of the Home Builders Association of Southeast Michigan. And it's a shame. It's a sad story. Their plane coming back from, I believe, Georgia, actually, crashed into a home. And thankfully, the people in the home were okay. They were able to get out. I believe they had a pet that died. But they were okay. But obviously in the plane, not so much. It's a very sad, unfortunate story. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well coming up. But Chris, being a retired law enforcement officer, I'm proud of that officer. 99% of the officers, deputies are outstanding and caring people. I agree. I absolutely agree. Nick, let's talk.
Yes.
Let's see. So we got one coaching interview today, you said?
Yeah, Eric Bieniemy will be virtual.
See, that's weird also. It's hard to get a feel for a place. Although, do you think these coaches really care?
I don't know if the coaches care, but I mean, you can't really get a perfect sense of who this person is virtually, right? I mean, I would imagine any hire they make. I would imagine any hire they make, they will meet with the person in person before making the hire. They'll have a second interview in person.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, I would imagine so. But this is all. I mean, it's just again like another thing you got to deal with in COVID. The NFL has to deal with.
And more GM candidates being interviewed. Saints VP Assistant GM of Pro Personnel Terry Fontenot will interview Tuesday.
Okay.
Rams College Scouting Director Brad Holmes and Vikings Assistant GM George Patton also on Wednesday.
Interesting.
And it's interesting, George Patton currently works under Rick Spielman, the brother of Chris Spielman.
In Minnesota.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
We'll have more with Chris Renwick coming your way in a moment.
COVID-19 continues to surge across the nation. It's tough on everyone, but it's hitting communities of color especially hard. Even before the pandemic began, 44% of households in southeastern Michigan struggle to afford basic needs like food, housing, healthcare, and childcare. With increased unemployment, we know the problem is growing. That's why United Way for Southeastern Michigan has partnered with Harlem Children's Zone to provide comprehensive relief and recovery in our community.
So let's see here.
Most impact, we have one message for you. Wearing a mask remains.
What else we got for me? Have you come up with any topics, Nick, for our StreamYard conversation?
Fighter jets
like, if you were an animal, what animal would you be?
No, my brain doesn't work like that, Chris. You have to give me another night to sleep on this kind of stuff.
Right.
Today, older adults and their loved ones.
I'm still focused on Lions World. I gotta break that habit now.
That's right. Well, the season's over too. You're done. Your
season is never over.
The season is over.
No. The season goes for 12 months, 365 days.
I see. Are we start? Will Billy in Hillsdale be our first caller? Is that right?
If you'd like.
Okay.
The man that had the best stories still has plenty of
Got some good callers lined up, though.
Good.
Conversation of a lifetime at StoryCoreConnect.org.
We're coming back.
All right.
Share StoryCorps Connect, a message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. That's the number for to call or text. We're also live on Facebook and on YouTube if you want to check the show out there. All right, I told you about this this mean police officer, right? I mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Just this nasty police officer. Just mean people, these police officers. Well, and this police officer, they did technically probably do something wrong. They broke protocol. They didn't do something when they should have. So I'll read you the story. This hails from Somerset, Massachusetts, and looks like it's from turnto10.com, which is the NBC News affiliate there. A call to police about a shoplifting incident has turned into something much bigger for an officer in Somerset who felt the punishment didn't necessarily fit the crime. This happened 5 days before Christmas. Officer Matt Lima of the Somerset Police Department was dispatched to a local grocery store, a Stop and Shop, for a reported theft. Lima says the allegation was the two females were scanning some items at a self-checkout, but bypassing other items and just bagging them. Dispatch indicated it was two females and two young small children, and they were detained by loss and prevention there. Lima said when he heard there were two kids that had been with the women, it didn't sit right with him. He says he has two girls himself, similar to the age of the girls that were there, so it kind of struck me a little bit, he said. Upon arrival, Lima said he pulled one of the adults to the side while the children, who had no idea what was going on, thankfully, were occupied by store employees. The woman and I talked, and she explained she was working, but the mother of the children was not working and had some other family issues going on, and that what she had taken was for Christmas dinner for the kids. The store issued two women a no trespass order. Lima, who believes in following the law, as he should as a police officer, cut him a break. He said there was nothing else on the list or in their baskets or bags that were health or beauty items, shampoo, anything like that. It was all food. I asked a store employee where all the items were that they had planned to take, and he was informed that they put them back on the shelves. Obviously, this family was in need, and I couldn't imagine having to make the decision to go to a grocery store and just pay for what I can afford. Or do I go in there and take things for Christmas dinner for the kids? Lima said. They were very thankful. They were kind of shocked. I'm sure a lot of people in the same situation would be thinking that they were going to be a different outcome. So what did he do? He purchased a $250 gift card out of his own pocket so the family could buy the food the right way. I bought the gift card close in value to what would have been taken. I just did what felt right. It's not about me. I just try to put myself in that family's shoes and show a little bit of empathy. All those nasty police officers. Nasty, nasty police officers. Taking $250 of their own money 5 days before Christmas and giving it to somebody who needs it, who was stealing food from a grocery store so that their kids could have Christmas dinner. Those terrible police officers. Come on. Where's the coverage on that? Huh? CNN, Fox News, anybody? MSNBC, anybody want to talk about that? No. Those terrible police officers doing terrible things. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. Back to your phones. Let's go to Billy in Hillsdale. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Chris. Hey, great show. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
Happy New Year to everybody there at the station. And as far as the president talking to the Attorney General in Florida, you know, he didn't ask him to create 12,000 votes. He asked him to find the votes, just like I'm sure it happened in Georgia, like it did in Detroit, where dead people voted. There were votes that were cast, and the addresses were vacant lots or burned out houses or crack houses. And it's just this has gotten. I applaud the senators. They're going to contest the Electoral College. the only problem I have with it is they should have started back on November 4th. And as far as our own state, you know, we got all these restaurants that are going out of business, but there are 2 restaurants down here, over here, that owned by the same people that have defied the woman in Lansing and have remained open. And their parking lots are full every day.
Yeah.
And,
well,
you know, I just...
yeah, Billy, and look, and my issue with that, with that particular, they don't even have a choice. Restaurants don't even have a choice to remain open or closed. They got to be closed. And you don't have a choice as a free-thinking citizen to say, look, I'm going to go to a restaurant or I'm not going to go to a restaurant, or I'm a restaurant owner and I'm not comfortable being open because I have underlying health conditions, or my family does, or somebody in my staff does. So we're not going to open. They don't even have the option. It's just blanket. You can't be open. And I mean, look, we heard it. The restaurant up in County Met's getting their license pulled. If these restaurants are remaining open like they are, wouldn't be surprised to hear the same. Thank you for the call, Billy. Appreciate you. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Joyce in Shelby Township. Good morning, Joyce.
Good morning. Hold on. Let me take you off. Hi there, Chris.
Right.
I'm just calling one of the points that you made earlier after hearing a few of these people speak about the election and the fraud, is you said you haven't seen any. What about over there at the State Farm Arena? What about the video? What about the mom that did a video of herself? I don't remember her name. I didn't get a chance to look at my phone because I'm on my phone waiting.
Sure.
That black lady over there that was at the State Farm Arena that was walking around doing a self-video of herself, telling about what she did at the State Farm Arena with her so-called daughter with these ballots. That's not evidence. And what about up in Atrium County? Okay, we got 22 machines that were investigated. And those are the only 22 machines that I know of in the whole United States in any of these areas that have been contested, that have been checked. And there was fraud found. Isn't that evidence? I mean, what do we need? Back 4 years ago. Okay, hold on. Back 4 years ago, just to go with it, they said that Trump colluded with Russia. And they spent 4 years looking into it and found nothing. You're telling me we can't spend a little bit of time to look into this and to say if there was fraud or not. I can definitely see it with my eyes.
Well, okay, Joyce, I appreciate the call. Thank you. I'll address some of that up next. I'm on the side of this break, so we'll take it. We'll come back. I'll address some of those points. Joyce, thank you. 800-859-0957. Off to the roadways we go with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Lots of clouds out there today. Temperatures to remain at or a little above average as we head through much of the week. Mostly cloudy skies out there today. Temperatures remaining rather steady in the low to mid-30s. Cloudy tonight, a few flurries, couple of light snow showers possible, upper 20s. Cloudy tomorrow, mid-30s. Mostly cloudy mid-30s again Wednesday. From the Weather Channel, I'm Ken Boone on News Talk 760 WJR.
Have you been told you need spine surgery or just sick of living in pain? The Disc Institute has a proven, painless alternative. If your neck, back, or sciatic pain is due to a herniated, degenerative, or bulging disc, then you actually have two problems. One, your pain, and two, your bad disc. Drugs, therapies, epidurals.
All right, here. Let's see. Georgia elections board members say Trump could be charged with soliciting election fraud. Well, I don't think that would really be up to them in terms of the elections board members. So next year, Santa brings Jake a puppy. I don't know if that's the case. We'll have to see what's in the cards, but I would think probably not. I would think probably Santa won't be bringing Jake a puppy, but I don't know. I suppose if he asks, we'll have to see. Chris and crew, will you be on Facebook all week? Yes, we will be, Mark. I think the phone call was taken out of context. It's an hour or so phone call, and everything the president said was in pleading taking Georgia to court. The president was going over items in a pleading. I think it's much ado about nothing. Maybe. That's an interesting point. Maybe, Bill. Just an FYI, police officers are underpaid and they still reach out to the community to make sure people are taken care of. As the phrase goes, serve and protect. Yep, I agree with that too. They are. I agree. Well said, Mark. All right. Nick, what else do you have for me? Anything.
If you were an animal, which animal would you
I don't know. I think a box jellyfish is the answer, right?
Good. Yes, that's the only answer.
Right.
You watched the Michigan Wolverines last night? Your Wolverines basketball team looking pretty darn good.
I did see a little bit of the game. Yeah, I was busy prepping for the show today, so I didn't get to see a lot of it. But yeah, they look. I mean, I don't know. They look okay.
Are you into college basketball right now?
Only a little bit. I've been pretty busy, so I haven't been able to get in.
Oh yeah, you've been busy.
I have been. What do you
mean? Weeks off have you had? Busy.
Not weeks. Not weeks. I just, the other thing too is like I'm usually doing something with Jake or something, so it's like I don't get to watch it as much anymore as I used to. But yeah, they look okay. I mean, I don't know. I think I still would like to see a little more before we get all crazy.
I haven't lost yet.
But yeah, last night, I mean, look, when they were I don't know, they were making threes left and right. So if you can do that, you'll be pretty good. But it's nice to see Franz Wagner playing better, kind of living up to the hype that he had coming out of
if you have Hunter Dickinson playing like that, you don't really need anybody else.
Well, that too. And Patrick, yes, hockey season is approaching. I am very excited about that.
The Red Wings?
The Red Wings. Very
that's
excited.
Our hockey team, right?
Say that again?
I said that's our hockey team, right?
We do, yes. The Detroit Red Wings. They used to have a tremendous amount of success.
Yes.
Not so much anymore.
By making a small donation or a large donation. Here's how you can do it.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm
when
excited.
When does it start?
I like the 13th or something.
Join us.
So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that.
This is the new iPhone 12 Pro with 5G, and it's on AT&T.
All right, here we go.
Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR, the number 40 caller. Text to get to a couple texts here. Does it matter if the emergency audit overturns the election results or not? The fact that one fraudulent vote was cast, it needs to be investigated, and whomever cast that vote needs to be prosecuted, not protected. In order to have faith in our election system, every single vote needs to be validated and legal, regardless of who the president is. Thousands of people swore they saw illegal activity. That's widespread enough. Well, that's an interesting point. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. I think any voter fraud, I think any illegally cast vote, I think any vote that doesn't go through the proper process, I agree. But when you start talking about changing, flipping states, and not just one state, but you're talking about Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, Minnesota, Wisconsin. When you start talking about flipping states, the voter fraud that would need to take place is extensive. And I'm only saying that I believe there is fraud in every election. I believe there is some sort of shenanigans that go on, but I'm not sure that it goes on to the length that it has, or at least being alleged. So in terms of actual, one vote not going the right, I mean, in terms of, one vote not counting properly or being counted multiple times, or if a deceased person votes or whatever the case may be, that is a problem. If the books don't match the actual ballots, that's a problem. It has been a problem. So I think that it should be looked at. And I think that laws need to reflect that. So when you start talking about electing, lawmakers and elect people that are going to reflect what you want to do in the ballot box, period. 800-859-0957. And in terms of what Joyce was saying before we took the break, in terms of evidence, yes, affidavits are evidence. Affidavits are evidence. But the evidence that was provided, courts didn't take it up for whatever reason you want to talk about. So if they didn't go through the court system, what am I supposed to do with that information? What am I supposed to do with those affidavits? At some point, a court would need to take it up in order to have it be evidence, real bona fide evidence. And yes, an affidavit is evidence. It is. But no court has taken it up. They turn it down. So again, what were there shenanigans? Probably. Yep. I agree. Probably. But enough to flip multiple states? I don't know. Let's go to Beth in Livonia. Good morning, Beth.
Here.
Hey.
I'm looking at all these different things. You talk about evidence, like you were just saying. Just since the beginning of January of this year, over 300 cases were presented in different states by the Dems, changing election laws, kind of under the radar, that if we just went back and looked at the election based on changes that were made without the legislatures of these states being involved, those people wouldn't be disfranchised because those votes would never have counted if the laws weren't changed without the legislatures being involved.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And I think that's where a lot of people have a problem. It's like, forget, like you're talking shenanigans, like, machines were flipped or this happened or that happened. If we just went back a year ago to the way the laws were before this election, and then they changed things, like the guy in Georgia, the Secretary of State, he had that deal with Abrams where, made it a lot easier to, not verify signatures. So I think that's where a lot of these people, like, I heard a caller earlier talk about, he wouldn't believe it if they did this audit and it showed, whatever they're showing. What are they looking for in this audit? Like, do we know what they're doing this during this 10-day thing?
Well, and I think that will have to be spelled out. But I think in terms of like what Ted Cruz says specifically, right? They're going to have to look at ballots and ballot books, and if they match, and how many times these ballots were counted, and if named signatures were being verified. I mean, that would be my guess, but that's speculation at this point, right? Like we don't know for sure the parameters, of this emergency audit are. So once we have that information, we'll have some clarity. But in terms of again, widespread voter fraud, we just don't have it yet, right? And I'll give you a perfect example, Beth. So I spoke with a conservative county judge, okay, in our state. And they are a conservative. And I asked them, I said, because I take you back to 18 when they passed this no reason AV voting. And looking at the election now in review, when you're doing your autopsy, when you look around the state, do you see anything funny? Do you see the funny business? Do you see where something could go awry? And they told me, look, we can't comment on we only know what's going on in our county. We only that's really what we know. But outside of that, when you start talking about no reason AV voting, again, legally, it's legal. We passed it. It's part of our election laws now. It's part of our laws. But with that said, it looks weird. It looks strange. It looks different from what we're used to. So when you start talking about what happened down at TCF, or you start talking about what happened in other places around the state, it looks strange because we're not used to seeing it done this way. We're not used to seeing an influx of mail-in ballots for no reason. You don't, before you had to be, a military member, you had to be, elderly or disabled, or you were going to be out of town when the election was taking place. I mean, there were reasons where you could get an absentee ballot. Now you don't have to. You just say, I want an absentee ballot. So it is strange. It's weird, but they told me that there weren't anything that they saw that would raise their ire or raise the flag that something, nefarious is happening here. And that's from a conservative county clerk here in the state of Michigan. So take that for what it's worth. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. That's the number for you to call or text. Back to your phone calls after the news with Marie Osborne, and of course, after we check traffic with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
The market is constantly changing. The Marketplace Minute keeps you up to date 1 minute at a time when you're just waking up.
All right, let's see. Yep, hockey season. Absentee ballots need to be requested. We shouldn't have sent out hundreds of millions of applications. Well, I mean, again, the courts ruled that, individual municipalities can do that. And then they ruled that, well, the Secretary of State is the boss of all of those clerks and both township, city, whatever. And so she had the right to do it. I mean, it wasn't my first choice, but, it happened and the courts ruled on it. Nicholas, Patrick says, since Nick still has football brain, who are your playoff picks for Super Bowl and who are the champs? It's a good question.
I like Green Bay.
Wow.
AFC. It's hard to pick against the Chiefs.
Sure is.
They haven't been playing great lately. Man,
isn't this kind of their time of year though?
I mean, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Based on what?
Well, they got real hot last year, won the Super Bowl. The year before that, they almost beat Tom Brady down at Arrowhead.
Well, they weren't offsides away from beating them.
I'm just saying. So, it's not like they go dormant here. This is when they kind of kick it up a notch.
Maybe.
And that's a scary sign.
Man.
So you're gonna go KC Green Bay.
No, I'm not putting Kansas City in.
You're not?
No. That's 2-1 seeds. It's too easy.
Okay. So you're not going chalk.
No. I'm gonna say
how about Tennessee? What do you think of Tennessee?
I like them. I don't know if their defense is strong enough.
True.
They have not been playing well. I might say Pittsburgh.
Oh, talk about a team that isn't playing well.
I know. It's tough to win there, though. And I know they won't have
to win there with who? Nobody's there.
They have fans.
Barely. That doesn't matter.
It's still tough.
No, it is not the same.
Of course, it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's just like it's not the same playing at Ford Field, like with a Monday night crowd there. It ain't the same. Just isn't.
What's your pick?
Patrick says Cleveland. LOL. What about Cleveland? Little Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb.
No. They play Pittsburgh week 1.
Okay. All right.
Who's your pick?
I don't know. I mean, I like Green Bay KC. I just don't see who's beating them.
Yeah. I'm tempted to say Buffalo, but I don't know if Josh Allen can win a big playoff game.
The Buffalo thing is really interesting. Well, we really haven't seen Josh Allen in a situation like this, right? This is his first playoff.
I mean, not where he's like no, they were in the playoffs last year, right?
Did they make the playoffs last year?
Pretty sure they did. But they
I would need to know his stats then.
I think they choked away a game against Houston.
Oh, that does sound familiar.
They were up by like 17 points or something. But now they're at least the favorite to get to the AFC title game.
That'd be interesting. A little Buffalo.
Yeah, they lost in overtime to Houston 22-19 last year.
Okay.
They were up 16-0.
Mark Gardner says KC and Mahomie. Making it happen. Interesting. Although, if the Lions were really serious about Eric Bieniemy, they'd probably want him out of the playoffs as quick as possible, right?
For WJR News, I'm
Yeah.
Ronnie Osborne. We'll have more with Chris Renwick.
And they can agree to a deal in principle before they lose, probably.
Yeah, but the tough thing, though, there is that, getting in, starting evaluate. I mean, I don't know. I guess they would already know who they like in the draft.
The general manager would start hiring scouts and start hiring front office people.
So at 7, talk to me about the Lions need about everything.
You can say that.
They're probably okay at receiver, so I wouldn't pick a receiver there.
No.
What do you mean? No, they're not.
They might go receiver at 7. They're all free agents.
Well, that would be a bad move. But
Kenny Galladay's a free agent. Marvin Jones is a free agent. Danny Amendola's a free agent.
Okay.
People are saying they should take Devontae Smith from Alabama.
Okay. Well, that would be a bad idea.
I disagree.
No. So that means what do you do with Matthew Stafford then?
I think he's
then you're keeping Stafford.
I think you keep Stafford either way.
So you're not drafting a quarterback to learn from Matthew Stafford next year?
I would draft a quarterback, but I'm not writing off wide receiver. At 7, those quarterbacks might be gone. So then you're looking at Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State. Or I'm looking at an article from Chris Berg from The Athletic, who does a really good job with draft prospects. He's looking at guys who could be there at 7. It's Parsons, and then he's got 3 receivers. Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Jamar Chase.
What quarterbacks are going? You've got Justin Fields, you've got Trevor Lawrence, you got the kid down at BYU.
They'll probably all be gone. We're coming back. We'll get into this later.
Newsmax TV, anytime, anywhere.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. That's the number for you to call or text like Margaret did in Troy. The goal should not be to reelect Trump, but give some closure to the election or half the country will feel cheated. The fraud did not have to be widespread. It probably wasn't. The Dems did their homework and identified 5 to 6 large urban areas that could flip an entire state. This is what should be looked at. Dems should demand a forensic audit to defend their honesty. Interesting point. Let me see here. Crowd control is all this program is to help people vent. The election was fraud. Everyone knows it. Evil one. We are heading towards a communist country. All right. Well, that's enough. I'm going to read of that. All right. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Donna in Livonia. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
You got it.
I'm concerned that President, Biden-elect has not picked an attorney general.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, this is done immediately, and usually presidents-elect have 3 or 4 people they have in mind. And the other night he said he didn't have anybody in mind, and that leads me to believe that he is looking for someone who would not go after his son. And I think it's awful that the FBI has held on to this information. It wasn't released before the election. I have friends who've told me that had they known this about Biden, they wouldn't have voted for him. And I think this is kind of a, sad for our country that we're getting all this misinformation.
Donna, what do you think about Bill Barr coming out and saying that he doesn't see the need to appoint like a special counsel or a special investigator onto the Hunter Biden
I was
story?
shocked by that. I was absolutely shocked by that. That showed me that either he was protecting himself or he just didn't want to get involved anymore. I was really surprised because if we need a special counsel, this is it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think Christians better be careful and they better start deciphering this misinformation that's being used by politicians to divide us deliberately. This is a technique that communists use.
Yeah.
They get people to, believe a lot of this information. I have friends who believe that Biden was mistreated.
Well, that's funny. I hadn't heard that one yet, Donna. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Now, that's a good one. I haven't heard that. Let's go to Mark in Detroit. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
Listen, Chris, I don't know. You may not remember my call, but I called. You were hosting the show 2 days before the election. And I made a statement, and it was a statement that the Democrats had been telegraphing to us leading up to the election of what was going to happen. And I said on that show that morning, I said, here's what the Democrats have said. And the ones that I've heard said that they were saying it laughing and snickering. They said that it will appear that Donald Trump will win this, is going to win this election in a landslide, but you will see in the end, there will be an onslaught of votes that's going to come in for Joe Biden, and he will win this election. They telegraphed that leading up to the election. They told us exactly what was going to happen, and they executed it. So here's what I say. The reason why this election was stolen from Donald Trump is one reason, Chris, and that's Joe Biden is compromised. He's totally and completely compromised. He's compromised with the Chinese government, with the money that they gave Hunter and himself, along with their business partners. He's compromised with the intelligence community. Why do you think that video, that laptop Hunter Biden had, hasn't come out? They haven't said anything about anything that's on that. And there's tons of incriminating information on there that they just won't say anything about. The reason why is because they're going to use that as leverage to control Joe Biden and do exactly what they want him to do. The same thing with the Chinese. This man is compromised, and it's the only reason why he was chosen and put in place. That's the only reason. They had to steal the election to do that. And for the last caller, one last point. For the last caller, I don't know if she was a texter or caller, but she said that Trump, this investigation shouldn't involve Trump being reelected. Let's just fix what happened. Chris, what would you do if someone managed to steal $800 from your paycheck and got away with it? Would you say, I don't want the money back. Just fix how they stole the money and keep the money. I don't want it. No, you would say, give me my money back first, and then fix how they stole my money unjustly. So if there's an investigation and it's found that President Trump got cheated like we think he did, and it was stolen from him, he should have every right to demand that he occupy the office the next 4 years.
All right, so then let me flip it. Well, hold on, Mark. Let me flip it now. So you make a lot of good points. So now, let's say they, you got Ted Cruz and his folks that are going to object and challenge the electoral votes that are going to come before Congress, and they're going to go through and they're going to run this 10-day emergency audit. And if the audit comes back and they don't find any sort of widespread voter fraud enough to flip the election, what do you do? What's the reaction? How do you feel?
Well, first of all, we have to say this. Will they do a full and complete investigation? That's number one.
Okay.
So if they're not going to do that, then what's the point?
Not fair enough.
If it's going to be a shell of an investigation, what is the point of doing it? There has to be a full and complete investigation. And if there's a full and complete investigation and there's no corruption or widespread corruption found, then, hey, we have to move on.
Right.
Joe Biden's the president. We have to move on. But, Chris, I need to say two more things, and then I'll get off.
Real
I know
quick.
You got other callers.
Yeah, real quick.
There's two things that must happen moving forward. Number one, we must have a national voter ID moving forward, where no one can vote without presenting this vote. They have to be vetted. You have to be vetted to get this card. You have to get rid of this mail-in, national mail-in ballot. It's rife with fraud. And this Dominion voting system has been proven in third world countries to be used by these dictators to control, to maintain power.
Yeah. Mark, I appreciate the call. I couldn't agree more with you about the voter ID. I think that's a must. And yeah, I think we need to look at this absentee voting in that way of voting. I absolutely agree. All right, Mark, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. 800-859-0957. We'll round out the show with more of your calls and texts coming up next. Before we got to go out to the roads, check things out with Dana Clark.
Mostly cloudy skies today. Temperatures remaining rather steady in the low to mid 30s. Cloudy tonight, a few flurries, even a light snow shower or two possible. Temperatures tonight into the upper 20s. Cloudy tomorrow, mid 30s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ken Boone on News Talk 760 WJR.
If I could be you.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way.
To get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Mark, just FYI, people seem to forget Mahomes played baseball and all his throws are baseball related if you watch his delivery. Just a thought. And I believe, Mark and Nick, maybe you could help me. Wasn't Patrick Mahomes drafted by your Detroit Tigers?
Your Detroit Tigers, yeah.
Yes, he was. Drafted by the Detroit Tigers. I think he made the wrong decision, personally. I don't know that he'll ever really amount to much. But
yeah. You might want
had
to
a
change
great career
careers.
here in Detroit with the Old English D.
solving problems and have been instrumental in providing sustainable, low-cost, and quick turnaround solutions for the community. We need more funding assistance to help provide more
The 37th round.
The 37th round, man.
14.
That would have been the steal of all time.
Could they have traded him to the Lions?
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
An intra-city, intra-sport trade. Totally legitimate. Yes, Russell Wilson also was a baseball draftee. Where did he get drafted?
He played in
he
spring
played with
training.
The Texans. Not the Texans. Who was it?
The Yankees. There's pictures of him on the Yankees and on the Rangers.
The Rangers. Yeah, the Rangers. That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
During difficult times,
Drafted by the Rockies.
feel the impact. When military spouse is unemployed, the whole family struggles.
And then he was acquired by the Texas Rangers at its spring training, and then traded to the New York Yankees.
Oh, he was traded
Twice.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So did he actually play?
He played in spring training.
He did. He actually played. It was after he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did.
And they were worried about whether or not he would get hurt.
I don't know if it was a regular season game.
No, I don't think he played regular season. He did play
Yeah.
spring training.
He did.
Mark says he played at North Carolina State. Did he play baseball in North Carolina State? That's where he played football initially. So yeah, he must have
transferred. Yep.
And he transferred to Wisconsin for 1 year. Wasn't the Hail Mary game the Wisconsin Michigan State game?
Was.
Keith Nichols, wasn't that?
Keith Nichol, yeah.
He that was the Russell Wilson game, right?
It was. Yep. All right, here we go.
The Frank Beckman Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckman, here's Chris Renwick.
Oh, it's great to be back with you. New year. Tremendous. 800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR. That's the number 4 to call or text. And we're going to round out the show with your calls. So let's get right back to it. Let's go to Gary in Florida. Good morning, Gary. Oh, Gary's gone. All right, let's go to Zane in Sanilac. Zane, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey.
I wanted to make a comment in regards to the fraud that people are talking about. And I think we cannot see the rot of a tree because of the forest. And I think the forest is all rotten. And by that I mean the laws of the state of Georgia were changed in contrary to what the law specifies. The legislature must do it, not the Secretary of State in an agreement with another group. It was the same thing in Pennsylvania, that the laws were changed not by the legislature, but by individual people, courts, whatever. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. Now people will say, well, they should have taken it to court. Well, the courts wouldn't rule on it. So now what is our next step? If you look at the Constitution of the United States, it says it is up to the senators and representatives to determine the validity of each state. Has it been done in the past? Yes, it has, right after the Civil War. I can't give you the date or the president, but I have read it, and it has been done.
Yes.
So it is not a precedent that we're doing.
But understand,
it is a responsibility of the senators.
But let me just tell you this. Back in 77, 78, 76, I can't remember the exact date now offhand, but it was, I believe it was Rutherford B. Hayes. And I'm going to ask Nick to do a quick search on that. Rutherford B. Hayes, I believe, was around that time. I think that's who it is. Whatever. Nick's going to look for me. Yeah. Okay. He's saying yes. So, I believe that they got involved, and the agreement was that they were going to start taking troops out of certain states if they agreed that Hayes could be president. So it's not quite the same, and there isn't quite a precedent because that was the last time it happened. And so the it's not quite apples to apples, but it was something to the effect that they were removing troops and removing people out of certain states, and basically, eliminating that boundary, in exchange, basically, for Rutherford B. Hayes to become president. So it's not quite a precedent. I appreciate the call, though. Thank you. 800-859-0957. Let's go to August in White Lake. Good morning, August.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for taking my call. Great job as usual.
Thank you.
I just want to wish everybody the happiest of New Year in WJR land and throughout Michigan and the Midwest. Just want to encourage people to try to rise above all the noise and focus on what's really important. And we're going to get through this. You got to stay strong. You got to stay smart. Think with your brain. You got a brain, use it. Think with your heart. You got a heart, use it. Think with your soul. You got a soul, use it. And you got to keep going. We're going to get through it. We're going to be better for it. And you have to remain just as positive as you can. Get involved where you can and if you can. This is it. We're all in this game of life together. And
no, that's the truth, August. So how do you feel about all this? Where are you at?
I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't quite catch that.
Where are you at with all this? How are you feeling about it?
Well, I tell you what, I personally feel, I think we're all done. I think we've had enough. I think it's too much. I don't think this is not natural at all. And I try to do my best to get the facts. I've done everything I've been asked. I'm smart. I'm safe. I do the best I can. And I think as long as you do that, we'll be fine. The other thing I think, like any disease, like anything, it comes down to our personal genetics. That's huge. One day we might get there. I don't know why people get different diseases and others don't. I don't know why people are more susceptible to something and others don't. So there has to be somehow a connection. There has to be a way that, I've been totally safe. I know a lot of people have been totally safe. Now I personally don't know anybody that's been affected by COVID, but I may talk to someone like you and you say, well, I have a friend and they got infected, or I have a family member and they got affected. From what I observed, it does unfortunately appear to affect the elderly much more than the younger generations. Whether it's good, bad, and different, if that's the reality, then that's what we've got to deal with. You look at the truth, and that's the problem. What is the truth? I don't know. Who do we really believe anymore?
No, that's a good point, August.
I hate to say that, but I'm not a pessimist, but I don't know. I try to look at the facts. I try to research. I try to do everything I can to get information and inform myself. And once I come to that final determination, I go and live my life.
Yeah. Well, in August, and that's all you can do, right? And I appreciate the call. Thank you. It's good to hear from you. But yeah, it's all you can do. And at that point, you just try to get the best information you can, listen to different viewpoints, and then away you go. That's how you make your informed decisions. And you listen to the Frank Beckmann Show Monday through Friday, 9 to noon. That's how you do it. This is how you stay informed. August, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Let's go to Detroit, talk to Mackenzie. Good morning, Mackenzie.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. What can I do for you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Thank you. What I see is the possibility of grassroots organizations kind of smoke and mirrors. While they're trying to impeach, they're trying to get all the big stuff on Trump on Capitol Hill. There are all these other organizations that are going out. And can you imagine if this were true, if you're grassroots and you find out the way you can get people to vote is to actually find out how to change the laws in states. And with the laws, and then COVID comes along and the no excuse AB, then when those go in, it can be flipped. It's not like it matters if it's Republican or Democrat with the judges that are in. It matters if it's a state's right, that the Supreme Court can't see it because it's a state's right. And the states individually have to decide whether or not the laws they pass, regardless of it was the legislature or Secretary of State having passed it, that's their definitive issue to deal with. So the thing is, the Democratic Party has had 4 years to get him out. And this might be one of the most comprehensive, well thought out plans that there is. Regardless of fraud, they did what needed to be done in order to change the laws so that they can get a narrow margin in certain states. Certain states were already decided, and that's fine. But the victory in Michigan and Pennsylvania and, Wisconsin, I think, and Georgia must have made workers, grassroots workers, people working for the Democratic Party, not in a grassroots situation, triumphant. And it can happen on both sides, but it can be legitimate. And so if it can be legitimate, why not do it? And like one of your callers said something about looking at the laws that were changed this year or in 18 in order to proffer this kind of voting ballot thing is amazing. And then in the beginning, it was all about COVID and keeping healthy for the mail-in ballot. Correct. And near the end, it wasn't about that anymore. It was about, the ability to get out there and do whatever you needed to do and have people who don't normally vote, and so on and so forth. But I don't know. I just think that there are smart ways to go about doing this. And I think that the Democratic Party was very smart.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Mackenzie, I appreciate the call. Good stuff. Thank you very much. And that's going to actually do it for us today. So we will see you back here tomorrow, 9 to noon on the Frank Beckmann Show. Have yourself a wonderful day. All right. We got to check traffic and weather with Dana Clark here on WJR.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education.
All right. Let's do a couple comments here. Let's see. Randall, great job, Chris. I do enjoy when you fill in. Over the weekend, Fox did a story about the rotten police officer that paid for the food. Well, good. I'm glad about that. Also, if Perdue and Loeffler are leading in Georgia on election night, what time do you think the vote counting will be shut down so that magical cases of ballots can be pulled from under the table and counted? That's a good one, Randall. Thank you. Bill, exactly, Zane. I love autocorrect changes to my my homie. It worked. Patrick Mahomes. It worked. It totally worked. Phil Harrison says 1874. John Yapello. WTH August. Nice topic change. Let's see. John caller Mark was spot on. Speaks for many. We love Mark from Detroit. Yeah, he's a great caller. And listener, we appreciate it. Democrats had hundreds of lawsuits prior to the election to take away controls. Yep. So Republicans want to follow a precedent from 1874, yet want to call a 1945 law outdated. Two different topics, two different ones. Well, okay, but the 1945 law was being directly used and impacted now and quite frankly misinterpreted. So that's why the ruling came down. This is like Civil War, post-Civil War, and I don't know. To me, it's not apples to apples, but that's what they're citing. Mark, Chris, and Nick, great show. The topics and conversations were awesome. Look forward to seeing and hearing from you this week. A good change for New Year. Hope everyone had a great day and Happy New Year. You too, Mark. Thank you. Patrick, have a great one. All right. We rattled them all off. And that's going to do it for us today. Nicholas, nice job. We'll talk to you later. And everybody, we will see you back here tomorrow.
See you, Chris.
Have a good one. Take care, guys.